In the midst of the chaotic battle, unbeknownst to everyone, the ground beneath their feet suddenly trembled violently. However, this vibration was drowned out by the deafening stampede of the origin beasts. No one noticed that the frequency of the ground's tremors was entirely different from the previous beast attacks. Only Lin Shi, who was diligently channeling his origin energy to slaughter the beasts, suddenly sensed something amiss and glanced down. He furrowed his brows. On the battlefield, the people from the Chun family base and the Freedom base were coordinating to fight off the low-level origin beasts. Although there were casualties, it was within an acceptable range. Yet, Lin Shi still felt that something was wrong. Seeing Lin Shi look down, Lin Rongxuan, who was standing nearby, asked, "What's wrong?" "I haven't found any Tier 7 origin beasts in the horde," Lin Shi replied. He had spotted several Tier 6 origin beasts, but not a single Tier 7. This was impossible. If two beasts of the same tier coexisted peacefully in a horde, it meant there had to be a higher-tier beast king. Either that beast king possessed a special stealth ability, or the origin beast simply wasn't on the surface. Lin Shi decided to use his mental power to probe downward. He had previously scanned several hundred meters underground without finding anything unusual. He didn't probe any deeper. But just as Lin Shi was about to extend his mental power underground, a disturbance finally erupted from below. While Chun Tianxiong was hunting down a black monkey, he accidentally spotted one that seemed exceptionally cunning. This old man was truly stubborn. Whenever he saw one running, he would chase it down. Chun Tianxiong kept his eyes locked on a single target, refusing to let it go until he killed it. This black monkey had an agile body, and its eyes were different from the other black monkeys. They weren't just sharp, they also carried a deceptive innocence. Those eyes were incredibly cunning and perceptive. Its awakening ability was likely aura concealment. Initially, it relied on its innate ability to hide perfectly within the monkey troop. But relentlessly pursued by Chun Tianxiong, the black monkey was forced to use its Tier 6 speed to dodge. And once it started running, it could no longer conceal itself. Lin Shi's mental power covered the entire battlefield. His consciousness was incredibly sharp, instantly detecting the anomaly of this black monkey. With a mere thought, the giant kite wheel materialized, diving straight toward the black monkey. Sensing extreme danger, the black monkey finally abandoned all attempts at stealth. It let out a screech, unleashing its maximum Tier 7 speed to dodge, and plunged into a pack of jaguars. So it was a Tier 7 origin beast hiding among the low-level ones. But how could Lin Shi's attack be so easily evaded? The giant kite wheel struck like lightning, carrying a razor-sharp gale that swept through the jaguar pack, seemingly wanting to tear the very space apart. A second later, the Tier 7 black monkey hiding among the jaguars let out a bizarre shriek, breaking away from the pack and fleeing frantically. The origin beasts caught in the path of the giant kite wheel were sliced in half, reduced to mangled flesh and shattered bones. The Tier 7 black monkey fled, and the giant kite wheel pursued. The scene turned into a relentless chase. It ran, he hunted, and escape was near impossible. The giant kite wheel whizzed through the air, kicking up a fierce wind that sent dust flying everywhere. The Tier 7 black monkey seemed to realize the danger and didn't dare to face it head-on, diving straight into the crowd of cultivators. Seeing the giant kite wheel lunging toward them, the people from the Chun family base and the Freedom base scattered in terror. Fortunately, Lin Shi controlled the kite wheel as easily as his own arm, ensuring absolutely no casualties among his allies. But with people and beasts swarming everywhere, the kite wheel couldn't immediately catch up to this cunning monkey. "Scatter!" Chun Tianxiong realized the problem and roared. The others snapped out of it and quickly dispersed. In an instant, the area around the Tier 7 black monkey was left with only origin beasts and not a single human. The Tier 7 monkey still tried to charge into the crowd, but Lin Rongxuan suddenly shouted, "I'll give you a hand." With that, he leaped down from the 100-meter-high wall of the stands. Lin Rongxuan's ability was to alter gravity within a certain area, but he needed to close the distance to a specific range. Lin Rongxuan crashed into the ground like an artillery shell, kicking up a massive cloud of dust. Immediately after, he sprinted rapidly toward the Tier 7 black monkey. Lin Rongxuan's speed was no less than that of a Tier 6 physical-type origin beast, quickly closing the gap with the Tier 7 black monkey to within 1,000 meters. Halfway there, he threw off his leather jacket, revealing a middle-aged man. He smirked. "Little monkey, freeze." The moment Lin Rongxuan spoke, the Tier 7 black monkey, which was about to dive into the crowd, suddenly slowed down from its agile pace. As if sensing an inescapable doom, the Tier 7 black monkey let out a piercing screech. The pressure on Lin Rongxuan doubled, sweat pouring down his forehead. Lin Shi seized the opportunity, steering the kite wheel to slash horizontally. The kite wheel sliced through Lin Rongxuan's gravity field completely unaffected. In the blink of an eye, the Tier 7 black monkey's head rolled off like a ball. Everyone was stunned. On that monkey's face, there was actually a human-like expression of sheer unwillingness. The monkey's corpse crashed into the crowd due to momentum. Lin Rongxuan withdrew his gravity field, wiped the sweat from his forehead, and chuckled. It seemed like he only used gravity control for a split second, but for such a cross-tire application of his ability, the toll on him was immense. Lin Shi recalled the kite wheel and continued to focus on wiping out the distant beast horde. Gravity alteration, a very powerful ability. If it could be combined with his own power, it would definitely be a lethal move against Tier 8 origin beasts. The moment Qi Yun saw Lin Rongxuan's gravity ability, he couldn't help but roll his eyes. If Lin Rongxuan hadn't mastered gravity control within his arm's reach to such perfection, he wouldn't have gotten beaten up while at Tier 6. Qi Yun's ability was also very powerful. She could summon lightning from the void, dealing terrifying damage over a vast range. However, this ability consumed a massive amount of origin power, lacked endurance, and its accuracy needed improvement. Currently, she couldn't unleash it at close range without risking friendly fire. The subsequent battle went smoothly. Lin Shi controlled his origin Qi flying swords, continuously reaping the lives of the origin beasts, occasionally leaving a few for Chun Tianxiong and the others to finish off. By evening, the battle quickly transitioned from day to night. As darkness fell, nearly half of the beast horde had been wiped out by Lin Shi. But the more he killed, the deeper his frown became. He noticed that even after the Tier 7 black monkey and a massive number of other beasts were dead, the horde showed no signs of scattering. What did this mean? It meant the Tier 7 black monkey probably wasn't the Beast King. The real Beast King was still hiding somewhere, controlling the entire horde. But just as this thought crossed his mind, the previously ferocious horde suddenly seemed to miss a beat, scattering and retreating like receding water. Lin Shi controlled his origin Qi to pursue them for a wave before stopping. The beast horde quickly retreated from the battlefield, vanishing into the night. After the grueling, prolonged battle, aside from Lin Shi and a few others, almost everyone was completely exhausted. Seeing the beast tide retreat, cheers of joy erupted from the Chun family base. They were thrilled to have defended their base and protected their homes. After arranging the battlefield cleanup, Chun Tianxiong hurried up the city wall to thank Lin Shi. "Senior, it's all thanks to you that we managed to hold the base today. Words cannot express our gratitude. We offer all the origin beasts killed today as your spoils of war." Lin Shi nodded. His origin power was also heavily depleted. Absorbing the origin power from the beast corpses would help him recover quickly. If the beast tide returned, he would be ready. Moreover, hundreds of thousands of beast corpses would significantly boost his origin power. Chun Tianxiong had arranged accommodations for Lin Shi. The small villas in Area B were already occupied by people from the Freedom Base, so Chun Tianxiong gave up his own villa in Area A for Lin Shi and his companions. Lin Shi told everyone to go rest while he stayed behind to collect the beast corpses. Lin Shi didn't allow anyone to touch the beast corpses. With a mere thought, the entire mountain of corpses was stored into his spatial dimension. As for the origin beasts killed at the base entrance, Lin Shi had Chun Tianxiong's people pile them up. Only when no one was looking did he absorb their origin power and store them in his space. Lin Shi planned to save the Tier 7 black monkey for Demon King. This monkey was very smart and would help boost Demon King's intelligence. While playing happily in the spatial dimension, Demon King suddenly sneezed. It felt like someone was praising its intelligence. That night, when Lin Shi returned to the Area A villa, Lin Rongxuan, Lin Siyuan, and Qi Yun were still awake, waiting for him. Lin Shi pushed the door open, saw the three of them, and smiled. I told you guys to go rest. Why are you still waiting for me? Seeing Lin Shi return safely, the worry on Lin Siyuan's face finally eased. She stood up and said, Uncle, I'm going to bed. Good night. Lin Shi nodded. Good night. After Lin Siyuan left, Qi Yin dropped her lazy demeanor and asked, Cousin, do you need me to keep watch? It's safe here, no need for a watch. Go get some sleep. Lin Shi had origin beasts standing guard, so Qi Yin didn't need to worry. Qi Yin stood up, stretching. Then I'm off to bed. With that, she went upstairs to pick a room. Only Lin Shi and Lin Rongshuan were left in the living room. Lin Rongshuan looked at Lin Shi with bright eyes. Lin Shi sat down next to him, poured himself a glass of water, and asked calmly, What do you want to talk to me about? Lin Rongshuan glanced upstairs. He said, Let's go outside to talk. Lin Shi took a sip of water. He had already guessed what Lin Rongshuan wanted to say, and he had no intention of hiding the fact that he possessed the treasure bowl. In the darkness, two figures flew out of the Chun family base. Lin Shi and Lin Rongshuan landed in an empty clearing over 10 kilometers away from the base. Lin Shi took out a table and 2 chairs from his space, then sat down. Whatever you want to say, just say it. Lin Rongshuan watched Lin Shi conjure those items like magic, a strange glint in his eyes. Before coming clean with Lin Shi, he had asked if he had ever seen the treasure bowl. Lin Shi had said no. At the time, Lin Rongshuan truly believed that his subordinate, a zhong, had died before he could pass the treasure bowl to Lin Shi. But when he went home that day, he realized this possibility was very low. A zhong was an incredibly careful person who planned everything meticulously. There was no way he wouldn't have made thorough preparations. Otherwise, Lin Rongshuan wouldn't have entrusted the newborn Lin Shi to him in the first place. Lin Shi's adoptive father, Lin Mingjun, was indeed always cautious. He had written a will for Lin Shi since he was a child, fearing that if anything happened to him, he wouldn't be able to fulfill his master's mission. From Lin Shi's decisive denial, Lin Rongshuan understood one thing. Even if Lin Shi had truly inherited the treasure bowl, he didn't want others to know he had it. Therefore, even after coming clean with Lin Shi about their true relationship, he never asked about the treasure bowl's whereabouts again. Lin Rongshuan pulled out the chair Lin Shi had conjured and sat down. He frowned, not rushing to ask questions. Lin Shi then took out 2 thermoses from his space and handed one to Lin Rongshuan. This is 82-year-old ginseng tea. It's still hot, try it. It was tea brewed from mutated ginseng roots. When Lin Shi had free time, he would brew a few thermoses and store them in his space, occasionally taking a sip to clear his mind. Lin Rongshuan took the thermos and, without even looking, tilted his head back and chugged it. He seemed very bold, ready to accept anything. Only after drinking did he realize it was a rare, exquisite ginseng tea. Lin Rongshuan praised, Good tea. After drinking the tea, the atmosphere between the two fell into silence again. Do you have something to say or not? Lin Shi spoke up. Lin Rongshuan let out a soft breath. His breath quickly turned into white mist in the freezing air. I'm just thinking about how to tell you. Let me think. Lin Rongshuan was considering where to start. Should he start from when he met Lin Shi's mother, or from when he discovered the secret of the treasure bowl? I'll wait for you to think it through. Lin Shi wasn't in a hurry at all. He took out a few more things from his space to block the cold wind. If they weren't in this freezing wilderness, an ordinary person seeing this would think a father and son were out on a vacation. I met your mother without knowing she was a daughter of the Qi family, Lin Rongshuan suddenly said. Lin Shi stopped arranging the items. He listened intently. I was born into a seemingly ordinary family living deep in the mountains. A book had been passed down since my great-great-grandfather's generation, said to lead to the path of godhood. When I was young, my father forced me to practice the movements in the book. I had good aptitude and unlocked my genes at 13. I almost died back then. Later, when I grew up, my father told me that besides the cultivation manual, our ancestors left behind another book. Its contents were absolutely not to be revealed to anyone. I inherited this journal. The journal stated that our family is the orthodox descendant of the ancient dragon clan. 10,000 years ago, origin Qi was depleted. Our ancestor, who was the clan leader at the time, gradually lost his power, and the clan fell into civil war. While trying his best to stop the civil war, Our ancestor was murdered by traitors. When the ancestor passed away, four brilliant beams of light flew out of his body and were snatched by the clan members. At that time, the clan was in utter chaos, and no one knew exactly who took those beams of light. To protect the bloodline, the ancestor's son took his wife and fled the clan. They hid deep in the mountains, and from then on, our ancestor's lineage has continued to this day. The book carefully described a broken bowl. The book said that the bowl is called the treasure bowl. It can grant its owner godlike power, change their destiny, and bring unimaginable wealth and strength. That is the ancestor's artifact, the heirloom of our Lin family. My mission was to find the treasure bowl, unlock it, and restore the glory of our clan. Lin Rongxuan looked at Lin Shi, a look of astonishment on his face. Then he smiled. It was a smile of joy, a smile of relief. Today, on the city wall, he had witnessed Lin Shi effortlessly summon thousands of origin chi swords in the blink of an eye. Lin Rongxuan's eyes had widened. In that moment, he suddenly understood. For all these years, he had painstakingly searched for a way to unlock the treasure bowl. His entire family had lived in seclusion, studying it for thousands of years without success, only for it to be deciphered by his own son. Finally, he had fulfilled the generations-long wish of his ancestors. He had found the treasure bowl, and his son had unlocked it. Now, he could go find a yin in peace. Hearing this, Lin Shi somewhat understood the story. From Qi Yun's stories about the ancient clan, he had guessed that the clan possessing the treasure bowl hadn't just split into four major families. There must have been others who left the clan when it collapsed, and the secret to unlocking genes was passed down. He just hadn't expected that his father, and even himself, were connected to that clan. For beams of light, one of them was the treasure bowl. What were the other three? Lin Shi's eyes flashed, feeling like he had guessed something. His other hand, resting under the table, unconsciously clenched into a fist. They were the keys to unlocking the treasure bowl. There were 3 in total, each unlocking a different ability of the treasure bowl. Lin Rongxuan explained, and Lin Shi's eyes narrowed. The keys were the ancient artifacts used to open the treasure bowl. He had found 2, so there was a third one. I'm guessing you've already obtained 1 key, right? Lin Rongxuan suddenly looked straight at Lin Shi and asked. Lin Shi didn't deny it. He replied to Lin Rongxuan, "Yes, I've opened the treasure bowl." Hearing Lin Shi admitted himself, the last bit of worry in Lin Rongxuan's heart vanished. He nodded repeatedly, his face filled with both joy and relief, saying "good" 3 times in a row. When Lin Shi used the power of the treasure bowl, he was already prepared to lay his cards on the table with Lin Rongxuan today. He was ready for any reaction Lin Rongxuan might have upon learning the treasure bowl had been opened. But Lin Rongxuan's reaction exceeded his expectations. It was as if Lin Rongxuan had lifted a massive burden he had carried for so long. His whole being sank into a complex state, seemingly nostalgic, seemingly liberated, seemingly joyful, seemingly letting go. Lin Shi was a bit confused. A cold, ruthless person like him couldn't understand how one person could display so many complex emotions at once. I did indeed open the treasure bowl by accident. What else do you want to say? Lin Shi interrupted Lin Rongxuan. Brought back to the present, Lin Rongxuan regained his composure and nodded. Don't worry. I have no intention of making you return the treasure bowl. I asked because the treasure bowl is too important to our family. I had to ask clearly. You are my son. You opening the treasure bowl is a better and more fitting choice than me. Lin Rongxuan's eyes were sincere and earnest, without a hint of falsehood. Over the years, besides stopping the Qi family from finding you, I've also been searching everywhere for clues about the treasure bowl's keys. Since you opened the treasure bowl, you must have found 1 key. As for me, I also found one. Lin Shi's pupils shrank. He knew the key to the treasure bowl was the ancient coin. In his previous life, he used the first ancient coin to open the treasure bowl and gained a spatial dimension. In this life, he used the second ancient coin and gained the ability to duplicate items. He didn't expect the treasure bowl to have a third ancient coin. Under Lin Shi's astonished gaze, Lin Rongxuan stood up and slowly took off his shirt until he was bare-chested. He pulled a knife from his waist and slowly sliced into his left arm. Then he threw the knife away and forcefully dug out a small ancient coin from under his skin. Take it. You'll have to find the last one yourself. Lin Rongxuan took a deep breath, bandaging his own wound. His time was probably running out. Lin Shi didn't understand Lin Rongxuan's underlying meaning. He reached out with a trembling hand to take the blood-stained ancient coin. Then he asked the question that troubled him the most. My mother, how did she die? Although his mother's direct cause of death was related to the Qi family, he always wanted to know if she died indirectly because of the treasure bowl his father was looking for. This question seemed to come out of nowhere, but it was an obsession in Lin Shi's heart, especially after receiving the third ancient coin from Lin Rongxuan. He couldn't help but look straight at this man who had never fulfilled his duties as a father. Lin Rongxuan gave Lin Shi the answer, but this answer awakened incredibly painful memories. Deep sorrow appeared in Lin Rongxuan's eyes, his voice filled with bitterness. I'm sorry, Yin. I'm the one who killed her. Lin Rongxuan seemed immersed in tragic memories, taking a long time to speak. From the moment we met, your mother was very beautiful. Your eyes look exactly like hers. When I met her, she said she lived in the countryside of Linxian. I thought her family was ordinary, but I didn't know the hidden Qi family was also in that area. We fell in love immediately, living like ordinary people. She was smart, gentle, and adorable, making me lose all self-control. I wanted to propose, to give her a stable family, but a Yin always used the excuse that her parents were doing business abroad to refuse. One day, a Yin said she was going home to visit. After she returned, she said her parents agreed to the marriage, and we even got our marriage certificate. The wedding was to be held after her parents returned from abroad. At that time, I didn't know her identity, didn't know she was deceiving me to marry me. That marriage certificate was fake. If we had gone through the official procedures, both a Yin and I would have been discovered by the Qi family. But I trusted her. I had no doubts and lived with your mother. A Yin was very smart. Living together for a long time, she quickly discovered what I was looking for. I thought she was just an ordinary person, so I told a Yin I was looking for a lost traditional bowl from my ancestors. I told a Yin about the treasure bowl. She saw how much I valued it, so she secretly went back home. This time, because she stayed away for so long without returning, I thought something had happened to her and frantically searched everywhere. I never expected that silly girl to steal the treasure bowl the Qi family was studying and give it to me. I truly never expected to obtain the treasure bowl I had always been searching for through her. If I had known she was from the Qi family, I definitely wouldn't have gotten close to her, nor would I have harmed her. Lin Rongxuan took a deep breath, looking away in pain, as if trying to swallow the tears welling up in his eyes. If I had known it would kill a Yin because of the treasure bowl, I wouldn't have told her what I was looking for even if I died. She was discovered. At that time, a Yin was also found to be over 2 months pregnant. Her father wanted her to abort the baby and reveal my whereabouts to kill me. Her brother took pity on her and let her go, which is how I reunited with a Yin. But the Qi family also discovered my whereabouts and chased after us. From that day on, we started running endlessly. When a Yin was about to give birth, we were found again by Qi Tsuheng and his men. Lin Rongxuan held his head in agony. While fleeing through the mountains, a Yin was forced by that despicable Qi Tsuheng to roll down a slope. She didn't protect her head, but tightly hugged her belly. Lin Rongxuan choked up, unable to speak. At Lin Shi's level, no one dared to lie to his face. Lin Shi knew everything Lin Rongxuan said was the truth. Without Lin Rongxuan needing to say it, Lin Shi knew what happened next. A Yin died, and Lin Rongxuan cut open her belly to take the child. Lin Shi found it hard to imagine how agonizing it must have been for Lin Rongxuan to endure the pain of knowing his beloved was dead, cutting open her belly, and taking out the child. That was a cruelty and life and death agony hard to bear. Lin Shi bit his lip tightly, his eyes full of murderous intent. Qi Tsuheng. He had indeed let Qi Tsuheng off too easily back then. He should have tortured Qi Tsuheng for a while longer before killing him. Seeing Lin Rongxuan's wounds still bleeding due to his agitation, Lin Shi carefully put away the ancient coin and took out some medicine to help Lin Rongxuan stop the bleeding. Watching Lin Shi bandage his wound again, Lin Rongxuan's eyes filled with joy and happiness. He knew Lin Shi had accepted him. Lin Rongxuan said seriously, "Now, about the treasure bowl, besides me, you must not tell anyone, not even that kid Qi Yun. If anyone suspects how you take things out, just say it's your ability. After the owner of the treasure bowl dies, the keys and the treasure bowl will separate from the owner's body. You absolutely must not let anyone know about this, understand? Lin Shi nodded solemnly. I understand, Dad. He knew how serious this was. At the same time, he and Lin Rongshuan absolutely could not reveal their identities as members of the ancient clan. Fortunately, right now, besides the two of them, no one else knew about this. Hearing Lin Shi finally call him Dad, Lin Rongshuan was incredibly moved. A man over 40 cried like a 5-year-old child. Right there, in the desolate wilderness, the father and son finally resolved their differences. Lin Shi learned the whole truth. Especially when he held the final ancient coin, the last bit of resentment toward Lin Rongshuan in his heart vanished. But the father and son didn't get to enjoy their warmth for long. Lin Shi suddenly felt a tiny vibration from the ground. No, not the ground. It was underground. The vibration was so faint that even Lin Rongshuan didn't notice anything unusual. Only Lin Shi, with the sharp sixth sense of a Tier 8 powerhouse, vaguely sensed something. Lin Shi used his spiritual power to probe the ground. It wasn't until he reached a depth of over 2,000 meters that he discovered something terrifying. The sight before him filled him with absolute horror. A massive, giant python, over 400 meters long, was breaking through the earth from thousands of meters below. Its colossal body twisted through the underground, its thick, massive grayish-brown scales opening and closing like countless limbs, allowing it to move easily through the mud. The giant python broke through the frozen soil, heading straight up. Above it was the Chun family base. That wasn't all. In Lin Shi's spiritual perception, the beast tide that had retreated during the day was now surging back, charging straight toward the Chun family base. It turned out the Tier 7 black monkey from earlier was just a decoy. The real beast king was this cunning titan python underground. It used the black monkey and the beast horde to draw human attention while it hid beneath the earth. Then, it took advantage of the night to launch a surprise attack. Seeing Lin Shi's expression suddenly change, Lin Rongshuan asked, "What's wrong?" The beast tide is back. The Tier 7 monkey killed earlier wasn't the beast king. The real beast king is a Tier 8 giant python. I have to go right now, Lin Shi said quickly. Given the size of that python, it's definitely Tier 8. Previously, he had sensed the aura of a Tier 8 creature deep in the Amazon rainforest. If he wasn't mistaken, it was this very python. Such a massive Tier 8 origin beast would definitely be a tough battle for Lin Shi. With a thought, Demon King and the other beasts appeared beside him. You stay here. Demon King and the others will protect you. Lin Shi gave Demon King a few instructions, telling them to guard Lin Rongshuan carefully among the beasts and hunt some prey for dinner while they were at it. After making the arrangements, Lin Shi was about to fly back to the base when Lin Rongshuan called out to him. Wait. Lin Shi looked back at him. Lin Rongshuan took a deep breath. It's just a base. Prioritize your own life. 10 bases weren't worth his son's life. If Lin Shi met with an accident while trying to save the Chun family base, Lin Rongshuan wouldn't be able to accept it. Don't worry, I know my limits. That python probably prefers living underground. Even if it comes to the surface, it can't fly. If I can't beat it, I won't risk my life. Lin Shi's relationship with the Chun family base wasn't that great. He was helping them purely out of stance and interest. But neither stance nor interest could compare to his own life. He was very clear about this. If he could kill it, he would. If not, he'd find another opportunity. As long as he could fly and the origin beast couldn't, he held an invincible position. Lin Shi only hesitated for a moment. By the time he flew back to the base, the giant python had already burst out of the ground. It was wreaking havoc inside. Screams of terror and agonizing cries echoed continuously throughout the Chun family base. Chun Tianxiong was giving his all to draw the python's attention and attack it. A tiny human standing before a python over 400 meters long was like an ant before an elephant. Chun Tianxiong attacked the python, but he couldn't even scratch its grayish-brown scales, let alone injure it. Every time the python whipped its tail through the base, rows of buildings were leveled. Anyone caught in the way was reduced to a pile of minced meat. Chun Tianxiong was almost crushed into a meat patty by the python. Lin Shi quickly lifted Qi Yun and Lin Siyuan into the sky. The python appeared right in the middle of the base. Qi Yun and the others' villa was destroyed in an instant. Fortunately, the two managed to escape in time and weren't hurt, just a bit dusty. Seeing Lin Shi, The two were overjoyed. When the villa collapsed from the python's attack, they couldn't find Lin Shi and Lin Rongshuan. Now reunited with Lin Shi, both breathed a sigh of relief. Cousin, this thing is too strong. Should we just run? You guys head northeast, about 15 kilometers away, and meet up with my dad. Demon King and the others are there too. I'll stay here and see what I can do about this python. If I can't handle it, I'll meet you there. With that, Lin Shi threw the two of them straight out of the base. The beast tide was still far away and would take time to reach the Chen family base. Just a tier 8 giant python was already something the base couldn't withstand. If the beast tide joined in, Lin Shi wouldn't be able to save the Chen family base either. Therefore, he had to resolve this quickly and cleanly. Lin Shi lifted Chen Tianxiong into the sky. By now, Chen Tianxiong had lost all the composure of the Chen family patriarch. He was covered in dust from the rubble, looking incredibly pathetic. It's a titan python. This is a titan python, a snake species that has been extinct for nearly an era. I've seen records of this snake in our family archives. They lived underground during the ancient ice age. In low-temperature environments, they almost never surfaced except to hunt and breed. This origin beast is incredibly hard to kill. It's too massive, has almost no natural predators, and possesses terrifying strength. Just being grazed by its tail or bitten means almost certain death for its prey. Seeing Lin Shi, Chen Tianxiong immediately recounted everything he knew about the titan python. Senior, please save the people of the Chen family. From now on, this old man is willing to follow your every command. As the 208th generation patriarch of the Chen family, I thank you. With that, Chen Tianxiong knelt before Lin Shi in midair. As the patriarch of one of the 4 great hidden families, Chen Tianxiong had never knelt to anyone. But for the sake of his clan members and the survival of the Chen family, he had to cast aside all his pride. Lin Shi used his spiritual power to help him up. Patriarch Chen, you're too polite. I will save them, but I can only do my best. Let those who aren't in immediate danger out of the base first. I'll save the rest and get them out of the base. Chen Tianxiong thanked him repeatedly. He was lowered by Lin Shi and began organizing the evacuation. The titan python had already noticed Lin Shi and was staring at him with its massive eyes. In those eyes, besides coldness and murderous intent, there was the light of intelligence. Lin Shi stood in midair, looking straight at the titan python. At the same time, his mind constantly rescued those about to die under the python's tail, moving them to safety. He realized this python was very smart, and right now, it was only killing people, not eating them. Lin Shi even seemed to see contempt for humanity in those massive eyes. An origin beast appearing in a human base not for food, but just to kill. What was its purpose? Seeing that everyone about to be killed was rescued by Lin Shi, the titan python finally grew furious. Its head, the size of a room, suddenly pulled back. A second later, like a cannonball, it lunged upward, opening its massive, fang-filled mouth to attack Lin Shi in the sky. Lin Shi triggered his thought, instantly teleporting over 100 meters away, dodging the titan python's fatal bite. However, the overwhelming, nauseating stench of blood still lingered in his nose. Having just dodged the torrential attack, Lin Shi smirked. Your breath is awful. The titan python flashed a look of anger. Clearly, it understood human speech. Lin Shi was stunned. As expected, Tier 8 origin beasts were not simple. Tier 4 origin beasts already had the intelligence of an average human, while Tier 8 beasts were no less intelligent than the brilliant geniuses he had met. If it wanted to, ordering its subordinates to capture a human to learn their language would be as easy as flipping its hand. The titan python missed its bite, and its massive body crashed heavily back to the ground. Lin Shi quickly rescued a few people, throwing them out of the danger zone. A second later, the 100-meter-long python, with a body over 5 meters thick, slammed into the earth. An earth-shattering boom echoed, the ground trembling violently. Rubble and dust flew everywhere. The buildings inside the base were severely destroyed. In the thick cloud of dust, nothing could be seen within a radius of thousands of meters. From within the dust, the titan python shot up again, opening its massive mouth to launch a ferocious attack at Lin Shi. Lin Shi could even see straight down its throat, clearly viewing the inside of its stomach. You like to eat? Then try eating this axe. Lin Shi dodged, and the giant wheel axe appeared in his place, actively meeting the attack. In the blink of an eye, the axe was inside the python's mouth. But before it could strike down, a pitch-black tongue shot out like lightning, knocking the axe away. Lin Shi controlled the axe to stop in midair. The python also closed its mouth, its cold eyes staring fixedly at Lin Shi, filled with contempt and mockery. Lin Shi realized he was being despised by a snake. I'll gouge your eyes out to play with later. Lin Shi's face turned stern, his eyes cold. He gripped the axe handle tightly. A massive surge of origin power flowed into the axe. The patterns on the giant wheel axe quickly lit up with a blue glow until all the patterns were covered in blue light, indicating the axe was fully charged with origin power. Once fully charged with origin power, the sharpness of the wheel axe skyrocketed. The cold blade gleamed, harboring a razor-sharp aura. Lin Shi gripped the handle, feeling the synergy with his longtime companion. He raised the axe high above his head, the blade emitting a faint blue light in the darkness. In the next instant, he suddenly exerted force. The wheel axe, carrying a fierce howling wind, slashed straight down at the descending Titan python. The axe drew a blue arc in the air, as if trying to cleave the dark sky in two. The Titan python seemed to sense the danger, but before it could land, it could only twist its body to dodge. At the same time, the grayish-brown scales on its body suddenly flashed with a brilliant metallic luster. The heavy axe struck down, slashing into the Titan python's body. The sound of clashing metal rang out, tearing through the night. The Titan python, despite its proud defense, was still broken by the massive wheel axe. Scales shattered, and the blade pierced through flesh and blood. It let out a roar of agony and plummeted to the ground at breakneck speed. But Lin Shi's attacks weren't over. In midair, he relentlessly rained down axe strikes like a violent storm, aiming straight for the Titan python. By the time the Titan python crashed into the ground, it had dozens more wounds on its body, each over a meter wide. 3 inches deep, foul-smelling fresh blood gushed out endlessly, like a fully opened faucet. The Titan python lay motionless in the crater it had created, seemingly heavily injured. But in reality, it was secretly gathering its strength, waiting for Lin Shi to get close to launch a surprise attack. Snakes inherently have incredibly fast attack speeds. Before the apocalypse, research showed that a snake's strike speed was phenomenally powerful, much faster than an ordinary human's reaction time. Some species could even strike up to 4 times in the blink of an eye. Even though the Tier 8 giant python had a massive, cumbersome body, its snake instincts remained unchanged. Lin Shi understood this perfectly. Therefore, after the Titan python landed, he controlled the wheel axe to return to the air. Those previous wounds, though terrifying to look at, weren't actually fatal injuries to this Tier 8 python. In a battle between equals, without an absolute advantage, it would inevitably be a drawn-out fight. But how could Lin Shi not have an advantage? Before Lin Shi even descended, a vicious glint flashed in the Titan python's cold eyes. Since becoming the overlord of the jungle, it had never experienced being passively beaten like this. Seeing Lin Shi not coming down, the Titan python raised its head again, its fierce eyes locking onto Lin Shi in the sky. Its massive tail thrashed wildly through the base, venting its fury. Its posture clearly said, "If you won't come down and fight me if you have the guts." The snake scales on its body seemed alive, rapidly contracting. The bleeding stopped instantly, and the wounds quickly began to heal. But the Titan python mistakenly thought Lin Shi had no other way to deal with it. From the moment he saw this Tier 8 python, Lin Shi had already formulated a hunting plan. The wheel axe breaking its defense was just the beginning. He channeled his internal energy, and countless origin chi swords, enough to blot out the sky, materialized in the air. They rained down like sharp spikes, aiming straight for the Titan python's wounds. The sudden attack exceeded the Titan python's expectations. It hastily twisted its body to dodge. The sound of clashing metal rang out endlessly. Many swords were blocked by the scales, but a vast number still pierced into the unhealed wounds on its body. The locations Lin Shi had struck earlier were meticulously calculated, evenly and densely spread across the Titan python's body. Now, pierced by countless swords, the Titan python looked like a bristling hedgehog. The agonizing pain of countless sharp points piercing its body drove it nearly insane. The massive snake body thrashed violently in the ruins of the base, causing even more terrifying destruction. Deafening crashes echoed as the ground was smashed into deep craters by its tail. Many people who couldn't escape in time were hit by flying debris, as if struck directly by artillery shells, their bones and sinews shattering instantly. Some unlucky ones were hit in the head by rocks, their heads exploding, brains splattering everywhere. The remaining survivors used all their strength to flee the base. Lin Shi didn't bother saving people anymore. He focused entirely on controlling the origin chi swords embedded in the Titan python, spinning them violently to drive them deeper into the beast's body. These swords were each a meter long and over half a meter wide. The blades had deep grooves, specially designed by Lin Shi to deal with massive origin beasts. The Titan python struggled desperately, trying to force the swords out of its body. But Lin Shi focused all his thoughts and spiritual power on the swords embedded deep within the Titan python, forcefully driving them down. No matter how violently the Titan python thrashed, those swords seemed to take root in its body, showing no signs of loosening or falling out. On the contrary, they pierced deeper with every thrash of the beast. The excruciating pain made the Titan python's eyes turn bloodshot, revealing sheer madness. The entire base was now like a boiling cauldron of oil. Under the Titan python's frenzied destruction, it was reduced to ruins in mere moments. Unable to shake off the swords in its body, and unable to attack Lin Shi, the one who caused all this, the Tier 8 ferocious beast, the one that had completely destroyed the base, finally showed fear. There was even a hint of human-like terror in its eyes. It tried to slither toward the deep hole it had emerged from, wanting to escape. Too late. How could Lin Shi let this Tier 8 origin beast escape? The giant wheel axe appeared in his hand again, beginning to gather energy. On the other side, Chun Tianxiong, after landing, immediately rallied his clan members, leading them to safety outside the base. The open ground outside the base was already crowded with survivors who had luckily escaped. The Titan python had appeared suddenly, without any warning. It burst from the ground right in the inner city, like an evil beast crawling out of the abyss. In areas B and C, many people were still deep in sleep after the grueling battle with the beast tide during the day, completely unaware of the impending danger. They, along with the surrounding buildings, were crushed into meat patties by the Titan python. A few who were more alert or hadn't fallen asleep yet panicked and fled the buildings. But upon witnessing the Titan python's colossal body and feeling the terrifying pressure of a Tier 8 origin beast, many were paralyzed by shock, ran blindly, and were killed. Among the people from the Freedom Base, including Donald Gavin, no one escaped. The technological weapons they had always been so proud of proved useless against a peerless, ferocious beast like the Titan python, not even enough to cause it slight discomfort. One shot meant one corpse. The Titan python swung its tail, smashing them mercilessly. Donald Gavin was no exception. The leader of the Freedom Base, a man of great ambition and sharp intellect, perished in the rubble along with his subordinates. Not even a whole corpse remained. In the face of absolute power, human ambition and intellect became insignificant and powerless. Area C, originally the gathering place for low-tier evolvers, was almost entirely wiped out. Only 2 people luckily escaped. Conversely, those who heard the commotion and ran toward the base headquarters earlier suffered the fewest casualties and evacuated the fastest. At this moment, all the survivors stood in the snow a few kilometers away from the base, looking at the colossal silhouette of the Titan python in the distance, their bodies trembling uncontrollably. Everyone was covered in dust, making it hard to even recognize each other. They finally realized how weak and insignificant they were before the power of high-tier origin beasts. Some were in utter panic. Even though they had escaped death, they still ran wildly in the snow, crying incessantly. There were still many people trapped in the base, but Chun Tianxiong didn't go back. He just looked toward the base from afar, his eyes, having aged 10 years in a single night, filled with exhaustion and sorrow. The others were also gradually brought out of the base by Lin Shi. Everyone's face bore the marks of surviving a tragedy. Not long after, the Titan Python launched a ferocious attack at Lin Shi. The entire Qin family base was reduced to ruins in the blink of an eye. The foundation the Qin family had built over the years, along with at least a third of their clan members and a large number of recruited evolvers, all perished in this sneak attack by the Tier 8 Titan Python. At this moment, everyone was in a state of panic. Even though they survived, what would the future hold? After this battle, the Qin family base was practically a thing of the past. In this increasingly dangerous apocalyptic world, rebuilding a base within a few years was almost impossible. Some people looked at Chun Tianxiong, whose figure had grown noticeably frail. Their eyes flickered as they began calculating their next moves. They looked toward Lin Shi, just a tiny black dot in the sky, a strange glimmer of hope in their eyes. Just then, someone pointed at a massive black shadow streaking across the pitch-black sky and cried out, choking on their words, "What is that?" Lin Shi was staring intently at the Titan Python, fleeing in panic below. One hand held the giant wheel axe gathering power, while the other controlled all the origin chi swords to block the Titan Python from escaping back into the deep hole. Just as the wheel axe was fully charged, an intense sense of danger struck from above. This was the greatest danger Lin Shi had ever experienced since his rebirth. Lin Shi's face suddenly changed color. He didn't retract his spiritual power from the python to observe the situation, but used all his willpower to dodge to the side. But despite his best efforts, it seemed he was still too late. In the next split second, a massive black shadow dove from the sky faster than lightning, passing right behind Lin Shi. The extreme speed and terrifying force created a burst of blood in midair upon colliding with Lin Shi. Lin Shi plummeted from the sky like a cannonball. At this moment, the survivors a few kilometers away finally saw clearly what had suddenly attacked Lin Shi from above. A gerfalcon. It's a gerfalcon. Oh my god, a gerfalcon that huge. The survivors screamed in terror. A giant eagle. It was a gerfalcon. It was known as the god of 10,000 eagles. Before the apocalypse, it was an aerial assassin faster than an arrow. They excelled at flying fast and using their razor-sharp talons to tear their prey apart. If the attacked prey didn't die, it would be severely injured. They usually hunted prey 2 to 3 times their size. Gerfalcons originally lived in frigid regions and were extremely cold-resistant. But after the apocalypse, birds around the world had almost vanished. No one had ever seen a bird in the sky, let alone a gerfalcon. Now, a giant gerfalcon appearing in the night sky. How could it not terrify people? Lin Rongshuan, leading Demon King and the other beasts, hurried near the base. Witnessing Lin Shi being attacked by the giant gerfalcon, his eyes nearly split open. Damn it! Lin Rongshuan witnessed the whole thing. Qi Yuan and Lin Siyuan were standing outside the base, not far from Lin Shi. They saw with their own eyes the gerfalcon knock Lin Shi down. The three immediately turned back toward the base. But very quickly, they saw a small yet straight black silhouette shoot up into the sky. It was Lin Shi, seemingly unharmed. However, saying Lin Shi was unharmed wasn't entirely accurate. Previously, most of his attention was focused on the Titan Python, with the rest on his surroundings and below. Furthermore, flying origin beasts had never appeared in the apocalypse, so Lin Shi hadn't paid much attention to the sky above. He never expected that a flying raptor, unseen for 3 years of the apocalypse, would appear today. Moreover, Tier 8 origin beasts were rarely seen, yet today 2 had appeared at the same time. Lin Shi found it hard to believe this was a coincidence. If it wasn't a coincidence, the truth was even more terrifying. It could mean that Tier 8 origin beasts had learned to ally with each other. That's right, the giant gerfalcon in the sky, with a body length of about 3 meters and a wingspan of 7 or 8 meters, was also a Tier 8 origin beast. This Tier 8 gerfalcon must have been hiding in the sky for a long time. Because Lin Shi didn't look up, he didn't spot it. Just now, when the gerfalcon dove down, Lin Shi noticed it but couldn't dodge in time. In that hair-raising moment, Lin Shi pulled out the corpse of a Tier 6 defensive mammoth from his space to block his back. The gerfalcon's sharp talons pierced through the mammoth's tough hide. The terrifying force smashed the mammoth into a pile of bloody mush, while Lin Shi only suffered minor injuries from the shockwave. He flew up again, gripping the fully charged giant wheel axe, and charged straight at the Tier 8 gerfalcon. It wasn't that Lin Shi didn't want to deal with the Titan python first, but the Gerfalcon was a ferocious bird. He had heard of them before the apocalypse. They were famous for their incredible speed and powerful attacks. Even wild wolves and bald eagles larger than them fell victim to their talents. When dealing with smaller prey, Gerfalcons could use their diving speed to accelerate, then use their razor-sharp talons at high speed to easily decapitate or disembowel their prey. One could imagine how brutal and terrifying a Gerfalcon evolved to Tier 8 would be. Lin Shi was human. His defensive capabilities weren't much better than the Tier 6 mammoth that specialized in defense. If he attacked and killed the Titan python first, he would definitely be attacked by the Gerfalcon. That was too dangerous for him. Moreover, he couldn't let this Tier 8 Gerfalcon stall for time. Since he couldn't kill the Titan python, he had to eliminate this Tier 8 Gerfalcon. Sensing the threat from Lin Shi, the Gerfalcon let out a piercing screech, spread its wings, and dove toward him. Its talons, sharp as white blades, slashed down toward Lin Shi. It was easy to guess the consequences of being caught in them. Lin Shi showed no fear, swinging the massive wheel axe to slash at the Gerfalcon. The axe blade and the talons clashed, emitting a heavy thud. He felt a powerful force transfer from the axe blade, numbing his arm. At the same time, the Tier 8 Gerfalcon was knocked back several meters by the slash. A crack was cleaved into the curved talon by Lin Shi, but the Gerfalcon didn't retreat. Instead, it grew even more ferocious. It screeched again, adjusted its posture, and lunged at Lin Shi. Lin Shi leaned sideways to dodge the Gerfalcon's attack, simultaneously swinging the axe blade toward its wing. Wings are the most fragile part of a bird. If injured, it wouldn't be able to fly. The Gerfalcon seemed to know this too. It tucked its wings, shifting from flying to gliding, barely dodging Lin Shi's axe blade. Immediately after, it spread its wings and soared into the air, diving straight at Lin Shi again. One man and one beast clashed in midair, incredibly dangerous. Meanwhile, the Titan python, which had initially fled toward the deep hole, found that the origin chi swords on its body had fallen off because Lin Shi wasn't fully controlling them. It immediately slithered back into the deep hole, realizing the Titan python had escaped. Lin Shi became even more determined to capture the Gerfalcon. His eyes turned cold. He poured origin power into the giant wheel axe and fiercely slashed at the Gerfalcon again. A crisp metallic clash rang out, and a deep wound appeared on the Gerfalcon's body, fresh blood gushing out. It shrieked in pain, dropping over a dozen meters, but still maintaining its balance. Initially, he thought the Gerfalcon would continue attacking, but unexpectedly, after being injured, it immediately spread its wings and soared into the sky, flying into the heavens at lightning speed. Trying to run? Lin Shi was fully prepared to capture the Gerfalcon. How could he not have a backup plan? In an instant, over 5,000 origin chi swords materialized in the air where the Gerfalcon was flying, forming an intricate net of swords that blocked its path. Lin Shi knew his flying speed was far inferior to this Tier 8 Gerfalcon, but his reaction speed was no slower than any origin beast. Blocked by the sword net, the Gerfalcon's sharp eagle eyes revealed clear panic. It flapped its wings, trying to change direction and escape. But right at that moment, as it changed direction, the Gerfalcon's flying speed suddenly plummeted. Lin Shi, hot on its tail, had his eyes light up. Not missing the opportunity, he immediately swung the giant wheel axe and slashed at the Gerfalcon's wing. Lin Shi used all his strength for this strike. The collision between the axe and the wing produced not only a deafening metallic screech, but also the sound of breaking bones. As expected, the Gerfalcon's wing was struck by the axe blade, and it let out a miserable shriek. It still tried to flap its wings to continue flying, but its speed was many times slower than before. Furthermore, due to the injured wing, the Gerfalcon couldn't maintain its balance and tilted to one side. Lin Shi immediately seized the opportunity, raining down blows like a storm, slashing the Gerfalcon one strike after another. After Lin Shi landed a slash on its neck, the first flying origin beast to appear in this apocalypse let out a groan and finally lost control of its flight, plummeting to the ground. Seeing that the Gerfalcon had finally lost its ability to fight back, Lin Shi quickly descended, landed a few more strikes on the Gerfalcon to ensure it was dead, and then stored it in his space. Only then did Lin Shi realize that his father, Lin Rongxuan, along with Qi Yun and Lin Siyuan, had arrived at the area where he fought the Gerfalcon at some point. Lin Rongxuan was lying unconscious in Qi Yun's arms. Lin Siyuan was using his healing ability on Lin Rongxuan. The magical beast stood a few meters away, guarding them in a circle. Lin Shi instantly understood that the Gerfalcon's sudden drop in speed earlier was because Lin Rongxuan had used gravity to slow it down. Using Tier 6 power to control a Tier 8 origin beast was simply too much. It would very likely drain his life force, or even cause a backlash. An unprecedented look of panic appeared on Lin Shi's face as he rushed to Lin Rongxuan's side. Lin Rongxuan was pale, blood trickling from his nose. Even though he only used his ability for a split second against the Gerfalcon, his spiritual power was severely depleted, and the origin power in his body was completely drained. This condition was similar to when Lin Siyuan overused his ability before. There was nothing else to worry about. Lin Shi carefully used his spiritual power to check Lin Rongxuan's physical condition. Seeing no major issues, he breathed a sigh of relief. But when his spiritual power scanned Lin Rongxuan's brain, Lin Shi's expression suddenly changed, his eyes revealing a terrifyingly cold glint. The glow in Lin Siyuan's hands faded. He looked at Lin Shi anxiously. "I'm sorry, uncle. I just saw this Mr. unconscious and bleeding." Lin Shi had once warned Lin Siyuan never to use his ability in front of others. Although Lin Shi had never openly acknowledged Lin Rongxuan as his father, as someone who was always by Lin Shi's side, Lin Siyuan still noticed Lin Shi's different attitude toward Lin Rongxuan. Lin Siyuan had heard that Lin Shi was an orphan, so he felt very sympathetic toward him. Now seeing that Lin Shi had a father, he was envious, and he also felt that beneath Lin Shi's cold exterior, he actually cared deeply for Lin Rongxuan. He couldn't just stand by and do nothing. Therefore, he used his ability in front of Qi Yun to save Lin Rongxuan. "It's fine." Lin Shi quickly regained his composure and patted Lin Siyuan's head, signaling him not to worry. "We're going back to the government base." As soon as he finished speaking, Qi Yun and Lin Siyuan flew up together. Lin Shi carried Lin Rongxuan, taking Qi Yun and Lin Siyuan with him as they flew back to the Xia country government base, leaving behind only ruins and countless corpses. 2 hours later, Lin Shi rushed into the Scientific Research Institute carrying Lin Rongxuan. The Scientific Research Institute was a restricted area of the government base. Unless Lin Tianrui gave permission, no one was allowed to enter or leave freely. Lin Shi was an exception. Like today, seeing Lin Shi carrying Lin Rongxuan in, the guards didn't dare stop him, only quickly reporting the situation to the sleeping Lin Tianrui. Lin Shi carried Lin Rongxuan and found Li Xinke, pulling the old man who was working late into the night and hurriedly handing Lin Rongxuan to him. "Help me do a full body checkup on him." Who are you?" Li Xinke was a bit dizzy from staying up late, making origin weapons for Lin Shi. Although most of the work didn't require him to do it himself, he still had to personally record and check the data and changes related to the raw materials and metal alloys. Normally, if Lin Shi said he needed more origin weapons, Li Xinke wouldn't get angry. In fact, Li Xinke wasn't tired at all. Tier 7 raw materials were incredibly rare. Opportunities to study them were few and far between. Relying on the regular forces, who knew when they would hunt down a Tier 7 origin beast. Every tempering and alloying process yielded extremely precious data. Li Xinke, this old man of science, had been working nonstop. Just this afternoon, Lin Shi had said he wanted to take the origin weapons to the Chun family base in North America to help stop the beast tide. Tonight, he was already back. Lin Shi's rushed demeanor and anxious expression were completely different from before. Back then, even if a mountain collapsed in front of him, his expression wouldn't change. Li Xinke was intently recording data when he was startled by the pull. He turned to look at Lin Shi, almost not recognizing him. He looked like a filthy student of Li Xinke. When he saw Lin Shi, his squinting eyes suddenly widened. He stood up straight and said, "Officer Lin." Li Xinke also quickly reacted. "Brat, didn't you just leave? Why are you back already? Who is this old man?" Li Xinke looked down at Lin Rongxuan, who had been shoved into his arms by Lin Shi. Looking bewildered, Lin Shi caught his breath and said seriously, "Help me do a full body checkup on him." Right now, Lin Shi was usually very polite to the elderly, at least always tolerating Li Xinka's grumbling. This was the first time Li Xinka had seen Lin Shi so serious, his voice almost a command. Li Xinka turned to look at the student standing at attention. Xiao Zhang quickly opened the biological laboratory. Xiao Zhang, Li Xinka's student, immediately sprinted toward the biological laboratory. Li Xinka also quickly walked into the biological laboratory, muttering as he went, "You brat, don't you see how old I am? Throwing a 100-pound man onto me like that." To facilitate better research, Li Xinka had previously collaborated with Lin Shi to use the divine tree sap to upgrade to Tier 4. Not to mention carrying Lin Rongxuan. Carrying half a person wouldn't be a problem for him. Lin Shi knew this old man had a sharp tongue, but a good heart. Without carrying Lin Rongxuan back, he hurriedly followed him into the biological laboratory. Li Xinka placed Lin Rongxuan on the pristine white examination bed. While asking about Lin Rongxuan's condition, he directed his students to fetch metal instruments. Male, 45 years old, Tier 6 Evolver. Brain. Lin Shi quickly reported Lin Rongxuan's physical data. His brain. When I used my spiritual power to scan it, I saw a dark area. We'll do the blood draw and other stuff later. Do a brain scan first. A dark area in the brain? Could it be a tumor or a brain hemorrhage? Li Xinka gently touched Lin Rongxuan's eyelids and checked his head again. No external injuries. The coma is due to the depletion of spiritual power and origin power. He encountered a Tier 8 origin beast at the Chun family base earlier. He exhausted his energy. A Tier 8 origin beast. Li Xinka suddenly jerked his head up, almost choking, but quickly calmed down. Now was not the time to ask about other things. With his sharp intuition, he realized Lin Shi was incredibly worried about the unconscious man in front of him. If he didn't figure out the condition of Lin Rongxuan's brain, Li Xinka feared Lin Shi would tear his laboratory apart. Li Xinka hurriedly instructed the student who was preparing to set up the blood draw machine with a special needle he had invented. Hold off on that. Do the brain scan first. Yes, sir. Although the hospital in the government base had the function of treating and saving people, the equipment at the Scientific Research Institute was vastly superior, many times better than the hospitals. This was because the Biological Research Institute under the Scientific Research Institute specialized in studying the anatomy and evolutionary paths of high-tier origin beasts. Many of the devices here were researched and upgraded after the apocalypse through the collaboration of Xia country's top scientists, using origin power as an energy source. They were extremely precious and only used within the Scientific Research Institute. Lin Tianrui was asleep when he was awakened by a guard reporting that Lin Shi had suddenly returned and barged into the Scientific Research Institute with the man who had previously sought him out to claim him as family. He hurriedly threw on some clothes and rushed over. When he arrived, Lin Shi, along with Li Xinka and a group of scientists, were intently observing the newly processed scan image. The image on the screen was much clearer and more detailed than the checkups Lin Rongxuan had undergone abroad before the apocalypse. The image showed that more than half of Lin Rongxuan's brain was occupied by a mysterious dark substance. This dark substance wasn't a tumor growing and taking up space in the brain. It had directly turned more than half of his brain into darkness. It was as if the originally white brain had been infected by some toxin, turning black in the infected areas. Although it still retained the shape of a brain, the matter inside was completely different from a normal brain. What exactly is this? A top neurologist, called to the biological laboratory by Li Xinka, stared at the image of Lin Rongxuan's brain and exclaimed in shock. "Brother Lin, what happened?" Lin Tianrui quickly walked up to Lin Shi. Seeing Lin Rongxuan lying unconscious on the examination bed, receiving in 4 drip of nutrients and origin power matter, he glanced at the screen. Even though he hadn't studied medicine, Lin Tianrui could instantly tell that the brain on the screen absolutely did not belong to a normal person. Lin Shi frowned, staring at the screen, and recounted Lin Rongxuan's condition. Currently, the public relationship between Lin Rongxuan and Lin Shi was still just his father's friend and a distant relative. Besides Qi Yun and Lin Siyuan, no one knew that Lin Rongxuan was actually Lin Shi's father. Your unconscious uncle. And then you suddenly discovered this abnormal condition in his brain. Did he know about his own condition? Lin Tianrui was still shocked that Lin Shi had so quickly resolved the beast tied at the Qin family base, but he didn't forget to ask what concerned him immediately. Lin Shi shook his head, about to say he didn't know, but then he remembered the long conversation he had with Lin Rongxuan outdoors that afternoon. Recalling his complex expression, he suddenly realized that Lin Rongxuan probably knew about his health condition all along. Instantly, Lin Shi fell silent. A look of panic flashed in his eyes. Looking at the still unconscious Lin Rongxuan, for the first time, Lin Shi felt a sense of agitation and an urge to destroy something. Seeing Lin Shi's expression turn grim, Lin Tianrui quickly shifted the topic to Li Xianke. Director Li, what's the situation? Li Xianke was a top expert in biological evolution and was well-versed in human anatomy and various organisms. After the apocalypse, upon unlocking his genes, he had supplemented his knowledge with a vast amount of information outside his major. The biggest difference between him and top surgeons was that his knowledge was broader and more comprehensive, not limited to any single part of the body. He wasn't just good at dissection, he was also good at saving lives. Li Xianke thought for a moment and turned to Lin Shi. We need to do a more thorough examination, and we must wake him up quickly so he can cooperate with the tests. Dr. Shun is here at the Scientific Research Institute and will assist us. Li Xianke looked toward the top neurologist who had been invited over. Dr. Shun agreed. Lin Shi took out a large portion of the divine tree sap from his space, along with a few ginseng roots, preparing to help Lin Rongxuan wake up quickly. Lin Tianrui said, just say what you need. The Scientific Research Institute and the hospital can mobilize personnel to assist at any time. Lin Shi nodded, saying nothing. Li Xianke assigned his students to begin the examinations. Lin Rongxuan woke up early in the morning 2 days later. Upon waking, he saw a pristine white ceiling, surrounded by researchers in white coats and machines constantly emitting beeping sounds. He almost thought he was still dreaming. He lay back down and closed his eyes. Less than a second later, Lin Rongxuan suddenly opened his eyes again. Did I lose my memory again? Lin Rongxuan's second reaction was that his condition had worsened again. You're awake. Li Xianke raised a hand, signaling Lin Rongxuan not to sit up just yet. He instructed a student to remove the equipment attached to him before saying, you can sit up now. Xiao Zhang, record this. The test subject currently retains rationality and cognitive abilities. Test subject? Are you guys planning to dissect me? Lin Rongxuan immediately sat up, his aura surging. He glared at the equipment in the lab. Just then, Lin Shi walked in holding a golden fruit. Seeing Lin Rongxuan awake, the joy he had suppressed for the past 2 days clearly showed on his face. He quickly walked over to Lin Rongxuan's bed. How are you? Do you feel uncomfortable anywhere? Seeing Lin Shi, Lin Rongxuan suppressed his erupting aura. What's going on? Are these people trying to experiment on me? You passed out 2 days ago, so I brought you back to the official base for a checkup. This is the official base's underground scientific research institute. Lin Rongxuan's eyes widened. Research institute? Checkup? So you don't even know your own condition right now. Originally, Lin Rongxuan planned to give the ancient coin to Lin Shi, and then after returning from the Qin family base, he would find a way to leave the base and stay away from Lin Shi. That way, if he lost his memory or something happened to him, it wouldn't affect Lin Shi. But plans couldn't keep up with changes. When he saw Lin Shi fighting the Tier 8 Falcon, Lin Rongxuan didn't hesitate to use his ability to help Lin Shi control it. As a result, he exhausted himself and fell into a coma, causing the physical condition he had deliberately hidden to be discovered by Lin Shi. Lin Shi brought the golden fruit to Lin Rongxuan's face. Eat some fruit. Over the past 2 days, Lin Shi had been using the divine tree's heart and ginseng to replenish Lin Rongxuan's origin energy. Now he was starting to find ways to replenish his mental power. When a Tier 6 evolver depleted their mental power, it usually took 10 days to half a month to wake up. Therefore, over the past 2 days, Lin Shi utilized the space inside the origin beast corpses, continuously using his plant growth acceleration skill to produce these golden fruits, which had the effect of enhancing mental power. Then he brought them into the lab for Lin Rongxuan to eat. The researchers in the lab had watched Lin Shi feed Lin Rongxuan no less than 10 golden fruits over the past 2 days. These fruits were beautiful, uniquely fragrant, and delicious. a species they had never seen or discovered before. But Lin Shi didn't let anyone touch them, personally feeding them to Lin Rongxuan one by one. Seeing Lin Shi take out another golden fruit, everyone, including Li Xinke, stopped what they were doing and stared intently at the fruit in his hand. Lin Rongxuan didn't think much of it. Still in a daze, he took the fruit from Lin Shi and took a big bite. The fruit was crisp, refreshing, and had a strange, pure fragrance. After just a few bites, it melted into a warm stream that flowed down his stomach, tasting infinitely better than any fruit he had ever eaten. At the same time, Lin Rongxuan felt the origin energy and mental power within him surge. He immediately realized the preciousness of this fruit, his eyes widening in sheer astonishment as he could only utter a single word. This. Lin Rongxuan remembered he had to hide the preciousness of this fruit in front of so many people to prevent his son from being targeted. Little did he know that while he was unconscious, Lin Shi had already fed him 9 golden fruits. This was the 10th one. By now, the entire research institute knew that Lin Shi was feeding Lin Rongxuan a high-level mutated plant fruit that enhanced mental power. Their envy was so intense that their eyes practically followed the fruit right into Lin Rongxuan's stomach. Lin Shi smiled and said, "If it's good, I'll get you another one tonight." Seeing the exhaustion in Lin Shi's eyes, Lin Rongxuan repeatedly waved his hands in refusal. "No need, no need. Good things should only be eaten a few times. Eat too much and you'll get sick of it." He hadn't eaten fruit in a long time, and being treated so well by his filial son made him very happy. But he realized this thing was incredibly rare. Moreover, good things should naturally be saved for his son. Hearing this, everyone in the research institute thought to themselves, "We'd love to eat it." Lin Shi didn't force it. As long as Lin Rongxuan was healthy and safe, there would be plenty of time to enjoy things together in the future. Lin Shi looked toward Li Xinke. Li Xinke immediately snapped to attention, walked up to Lin Rongxuan, and asked, "Do you feel any discomfort anywhere right now?" Lin Rongxuan knew his condition couldn't be hidden anymore. He sighed and said, "No discomfort. It's just that I've forgotten a lot of things. I don't even know what I've forgotten, and my mental power can't sense the condition inside my brain." Li Xinke nodded, understanding the situation. The dark mass in Lin Rongxuan's brain not only caused him to lose his memories, but also affected his ability to sense his mental power. "All right, while you're awake, please cooperate with us for another round of tests," Li Xinke said, before getting busy with Lin Rongxuan again. A few hours later, the tests finally concluded. Li Xinke, along with the other researchers and doctors, stepped aside to discuss a plan. Over an hour later, Li Xinke returned to the lab. He approached Lin Shi, who was still intently staring at the test results, and said, "Let's go outside and talk. Just say it straight here. I'm over 40. I know my own health condition," Lin Rongxuan said, hearing Li Xinke lower his voice. Interrupted, Li Xinke looked at Lin Shi. Lin Shi pursed his lips, nodded, and said, "Speak plainly." "Then I'll speak," Li Xinke replied. "Right now, the worst-case scenario has occurred. The dark mass in his head will grow over time. When the origin energy and mental power in his body are stable, the dark mass grows slowly. But when he's unconscious, the growth rate is extremely fast." Li Xinke walked over to the monitor and pointed at hundreds of comparative brain scans taken over the past 2 days. Over these 2 days, you provided him with a massive amount of origin energy and mental power. Compared to before, whether it's enhancing origin energy or mental power, it can only delay the expansion of the dark mass. Furthermore, this dark mass tends to grow stronger when faced with resistance. To be precise, if the host body gets stronger, it will suppress the dark mass for a while. But over time, the dark mass will also absorb the host's power and grow. This is the most terrifying part. This kind of dark mass actually evolves alongside the host. If it had been treated a few years earlier, perhaps. Li Xinke trailed off. Lin Rongxuan's condition had obviously persisted for a very long time. The dark mass in his head didn't belong to any known disease from before the apocalypse. Calling it a disease wasn't even accurate. It was more like a parasite, a virus, or a parasitic organism targeting the brain. The most terrifying part was that they discovered this dark mass might actually possess consciousness. Even the robust body of a Tier 6 evolver couldn't expel or destroy it. You can see how terrifying this dark mass is. If they could extract a sample of the dark mass to study, they might gather more information. But that could also cause the dark mass in Lin Rongxuan's head to mutate. Lin Shi definitely wouldn't agree to that. Currently, we have two options. The conservative option is to maintain abundant origin energy and mental power for him, allowing him to continuously evolve. Perhaps when he evolves to a certain level or reaches a peak, he might break some sort of shackle, suppressing the dark mass or even making it disappear. But he's already at tier 6. Not to mention the difficulty of continuous evolution. Even if he evolves to a very high level, the chances of the dark mass disappearing are only about 10%. During the evolution process, there's an over 50% chance of stimulating the dark mass to evolve as well, making things even harder to resolve. Li Xianke looked at Lin Shi and said frankly, "The other option is much simpler. Surgery. We surgically remove the part of the brain covered by the dark mass. A human brain can still function normally with only half of it left. This was proven in the Lighthouse Nation before the apocalypse. With the physical resilience of a Tier 6 evolver and the support of origin energy medicine, even removing a bit more wouldn't be a problem. There will definitely be side effects, but this is the method with the highest success rate right now. Our biggest concern is that during the surgery, the dark mass might overreact when threatened and provoked." Actually, while Lin Rongxuan was still unconscious, Lin Shi and Li Xianke had already discussed the treatment plan. The entire research institute had focused on analyzing Lin Rongxuan's physical condition for 2 days and 2 nights. The efficiency was incredibly high. The dark mass in Lin Rongxuan's head wasn't like a tumor or a foreign object. It grew alongside the brain. It was like a living organism, adapting to the situation. It couldn't be separated from the brain. If they operated, they could only cut out the part of the brain covered by the dark mass. Although a Tier 6 evolver had immense vitality and regenerative abilities and could survive with less than half a brain, Lin Rongxuan's case might require removing even more. A Tier 6 evolver's abilities largely stemmed from brain development. Therefore, a decrease in power was inevitable. The most troublesome part was if the dark mass in Lin Rongxuan's head had a self-preservation consciousness. It might harm the host, threatening Lin Rongxuan's life. Thus, the surgery was highly risky. The conservative option, on the other hand, could only buy time. There was no guarantee when Lin Rongxuan's entire brain would be taken over by the dark mass. If taken over by the dark mass, Lin Rongxuan would very likely die or form a different consciousness. The worst-case scenario was that the person would still be alive, but no longer the same person. This was something Lin Shi could not accept. After hearing Li Xianke's words, Lin Rongxuan immediately decided, "I choose surgery." If he hadn't found Lin Shi before, Lin Rongxuan would absolutely never put his life in the hands of strangers. But now that he had found Lin Shi, and even the mission to unlock the cornucopia had been completed by Lin Shi, what else did he have to worry about? Rather than constantly burdening Lin Shi, it was better to resolve everything with surgery. If he survived, great. If he died, he could peacefully reunite with Ayuan in the afterlife. Lin Shi frowned at Lin Rongxuan, clearly guessing some of his thoughts and intentions. Lin Rongxuan grabbed Lin Shi's hand. "I understand my condition now. Surgery is the best choice. My luck isn't bad. It allowed me to finish what I needed to do before losing my memory, and now I'm being treated by a professional medical team. I don't want to lose my memory and live a half-dead life. Let me give it a try." Lin Rongxuan's eyes were so resolute and determined that they almost materialized, containing a hint of pleading that only Lin Shi could see. Lin Shi clenched his hanging fists and finally gave a slight nod. Lin Rongxuan's condition was deteriorating rapidly. If there really was no other way, he definitely wouldn't have agreed. His spatial storage currently held a Tier 8 origin beast corpse, and even that Tier 7 monkey from before. Previously, when discussing the plan with Lin Rongxuan, he had suggested trying to let Lin Rongxuan evolve to Tier 8 to see if it could buy more time. But Li Xianke and the others rejected it. If Lin Rongxuan evolved to Tier 8, it might suppress the dark mass for a while, but the ultimate consequence could be that the dark mass evolved synchronously, growing even faster, bringing unforeseen risks, and increasing the difficulty of the surgery. Therefore, Li Xianke and the others proposed the best plan, surgery, as soon as possible. Lin Rongxuan agreed, and Lin Shi nodded as well. Li Xinke decided to schedule the surgery for a month later. That was the absolute fastest they could do. Before the surgery, they needed to prepare a few more things. First was manufacturing specialized surgical equipment for a Tier 6 evolver. They also needed to gather all the top talents in relevant fields across the entire Xia nation to discuss the surgical details and simulate the procedure. Knowing how much Lin Shi valued Lin Rongxuan, someone suggested using death row inmates or corpses to conduct several surgical simulations to increase the success rate. This would have been strictly forbidden before the apocalypse, but now, post-apocalypse, it was no big deal. Lin Tianrui agreed, but it had to be kept absolutely secret. Lin Rongxuan was temporarily kept at the research institute, cared for like a special experimental subject. The urgent task was to continuously collect data on Lin Rongxuan's brain, monitoring the growth rate and activity level of the dark mass under different states. After that, they would utilize all available resources to simulate the optimal surgical environment for Lin Rongxuan. Lin Shi confirmed that the research institute didn't need him for the time being before leaving. Returning to the Wulong courtyard, he immediately ran into an anxious Lin Siyuan and Qi Yun. These two had been waiting in the courtyard for days, waiting for Lin Shi to return so they could ask about Lin Rongxuan's condition. Lin Shi summarized Lin Rongxuan's situation for both of them. The important thing was that he absolutely had to tell Lin Siyuan about this. Lin Siyuan had the ability to heal and even regenerate the body. But Lin Rongxuan was very healthy and had no other injuries. The dark mass in his brain was almost fused with his brain, so it couldn't be healed directly. Lin Siyuan's ability would come into play during the critical moment of Lin Rongxuan's surgery a month from now. Li Xinke had told Lin Shi that during the surgery, the dark mass might sense danger and overreact, even accelerating its consumption of the brain. If that happened, they would have to quickly cut out the part of the brain covered by the dark mass, perhaps even removing more. But no one could guarantee that a Tier 6 evolver could survive or live normally after having a large portion of their brain removed. That was when Lin Siyuan's ability would be needed. Therefore, on the day of the surgery, Lin Shi would bring Lin Siyuan along to prevent any risks. If the surgery succeeded, he needed Lin Siyuan to help Lin Rongxuan restore his brain functions. If it failed, he needed Lin Siyuan to help Lin Rongxuan survive. Siyuan, within this month, I hope you can unlock the Tier 6 gene lock. I need your ability. Lin Shi patted Lin Siyuan's shoulder. Lin Siyuan nodded seriously, his eyes resolute. He definitely wouldn't let Lin Shi down. Besides, he thought Lin Rongxuan was a very good person who often gave him snacks, so he didn't want such a good person to die. Lin Shi sent Qi Yun away and told Lin Siyuan to rest early. Lin Siyuan obediently went to sleep. After the two left, Lin Shi let the Demon King out and instructed it not to let anyone disturb him. Then he returned to his room, finally having the time to examine the ancient coin Lin Rongxuan had given him earlier. Lin Shi carefully wiped the blood off the coin. This coin looked exactly like the two he had found before. The first one unlocked a storage space. The second one unlocked the ability to copy skills. What ability would this third coin bring? Lin Shi had a premonition. This third coin was the true core power of the cornucopia. He was very worried about the surgery a month from now. If the cornucopia could provide an ability to help Lin Rongxuan, perhaps they wouldn't have to take such a massive risk. That was also one of the reasons Lin Shi had rushed back. Lin Shi took a deep breath, his gaze solemn, and gently pressed the coin against his forehead. Lin Shi pressed the ancient coin to his forehead. A second later, the faint image of the cornucopia appeared on his forehead. The ancient coin in his hand suddenly vanished. At the same time, the cornucopia interface, which hadn't changed in a very long time, displayed a series of random codes, just like when he absorbed the previous coins. Last time, when unlocking the item duplication function, the random codes appeared and disappeared very quickly. Moreover, Lin Shi was still an ordinary person back then, so his vision blurred and he couldn't see anything clearly. But now, Lin Shi was a Tier 8 evolver with a superhuman memory and extraordinary vision. The codes that previously blurred his vision now clearly displayed every incomprehensible symbol dancing before his eyes. Lin Shi narrowed his eyes, memorizing all the symbols. The cornucopia transformed rapidly and then vanished. When the cornucopia interface reappeared, alongside the 4 old icon slots, a new icon slot had been added. Lin Shi suppressed his excitement. First, he wrote down the random codes he had memorized on a piece of paper in the exact sequence he saw them. Only then did he click on the newly appeared icon, which was shaped like an ancient coin. The 5th slot, reversing heaven and earth. Based on the amount of energy provided, it can send the host back in time to a specific point in the past. Current energy, 0, cannot teleport. Note, after teleporting to the past timeline, the host's body will revert to its state in that timeline. Note, after reversing heaven and earth is activated, the host will bring the cornucopia back with them. The cornucopia and keys in the past timeline will disappear. Note, during the use of reversing heaven and earth, the spatial storage will temporarily close. If there are living creatures in the space, they will be purged by the power of space-time. If you wish to keep living creatures in the space, additional energy must be provided. Note, each host can only use this function once in their lifetime. After use, this icon will disappear permanently. Note, reversing heaven and earth is humanity's last chance to achieve victory. Please use it with caution. Lin Shi's eyes widened, his breathing heavy. He carefully reread the text on the cornucopia interface. Reversing heaven and earth. Reversing time. Returning to a past timeline. The amount of information was overwhelming, and Lin Shi found it hard to process for a moment. He was already a reincarnator and knew how crucial it was to seize opportunities. But reversing heaven and earth was different from reincarnation. Reincarnation meant everything reverted to the moment of rebirth. But reversing heaven and earth, under certain conditions, allowed him to bring the origin beasts and items currently in his spatial storage back with him. Lin Shi had a massive number of origin beasts in his space, even a Tier 8 and a Tier 7 origin beast. By absorbing these origin beasts, even if he became an ordinary person again, he could unlock his gene locks consecutively in a short time, perhaps even breaking through back to Tier 8. But he was already at Tier 8 now, so going back a few years just to unlock the Tier 8 gene lock again was pointless. Furthermore, returning to the past meant the introduction of new variables. It would be impossible to completely control everything once again. The best time to use reversing heaven and earth would be when the survival war between humanity and the origin beasts was decided and humanity lost, or when something irreversible happened to Lin Shi. Currently, the outcome between humanity and the origin beasts was still unclear, and the result of Lin Rongxuan's surgery was unknown. Therefore, the reversing heaven and earth ability could only serve as a backup plan, the ultimate backup plan in Lin Shi's hands. Lin Shi quickly organized his thoughts. Perhaps he would have a chance to use this ability, but it was best if he didn't need to. What he needed to do now was supply energy to reversing heaven and earth. Lin Shi took out a leftover gold bar from his spatial storage to test it. No reaction. It wasn't gold. Previously, when upgrading the cornucopia, he had always used gold. It seemed gold could be used as an upgrade material, but not as an energy source. Then it was probably origin energy. Lin Shi set the gold aside and took out a gene pill. Faint origin energy detected. Can be absorbed and converted into an energy source for reversing heaven and earth. Absorb and convert. Lin Shi's eyes lit up. Convert. As soon as he spoke, the origin energy within the gene pill vanished. Reversing heaven and earth can send the host back to a specific point in the past based on the energy provided. Total current energy, 3, can teleport to the timeline. 1 point of origin energy converts to 1 point of energy. The spatial storage contained many low-level origin beast corpses, which were perfect as an energy source. Lin Shi put away the gene pill and the gold. With a thought, the window quietly opened. Lin Shi flew out the window and disappeared into the base. At this moment, Lin Shi had no idea that the instant he fused the 3rd ancient coin, a massive earthquake struck a remote island in the Atlantic Ocean. The tremor started from the center of the island, as if a giant invisible hand was shaking the earth from below. It was weak at first, but as time passed, the tremors grew stronger, and the entire island began to shake violently. The thick layer of snow covering the island was shaken loose, revealing the muddy soil beneath. And in the center of the island, 2 massive stone pillars, over 2,000 meters apart, suddenly began to slowly rise from the mud. The stone pillars were rough and jagged, But as they rose, they seemed like awakening giants, slowly tilting their heads. The crumbling rocks on the surface were shaken off, revealing the true appearance of the pillars, a smooth, dark brown surface that seemed to have accumulated over millions of years. In the center of the stone pillars, several bizarre symbols emerged. If Lin Shi were here, he would recognize these symbols as the ones that appeared when the cornucopia upgraded. When the stone pillars fully emerged, the entire island stopped shaking. Around the island, the kilometers-thick ice layer was completely shattered, turning into floating icebergs drifting on the calm sea. Not a single human, not a single origin beast appeared on the island. It stood solitary in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. Lin Shi left the base, found a secluded spot, and took out a large number of origin beast corpses from his spatial storage, converting the origin energy inside them into energy. He continued until the cornucopia prompted, "Faint origin energy detected. Can be absorbed and converted into an energy source for reversing heaven and earth." Absorb and convert. Then it reverted to the prompt, "Faint origin energy detected. Absorb? Yes or no?" Only then did Lin Shi stop. He opened the reversing heaven and earth interface of the cornucopia. Reversing heaven and earth can send the host back to a specific point in the past based on the energy provided. Current energy is full. Can teleport to the furthest timeline, 8 years ago. Current energy is full. Can bring all living creatures in the spatial storage along for the teleportation. Activate reversing heaven and earth now. Yes or no? Lin Shi chose no, then returned to the base. He needed to prepare for Lin Rongxuan's surgery a month from now. To ensure the surgery a month later was absolutely precise and flawless, Lin Shi strictly demanded that only a lead surgeon who had reached Tier 5 would be allowed to perform the operation. A Tier 5 evolver possessed neural reflex speeds and calculation abilities far superior to lower tiers, ensuring a higher success rate for the surgery. Dr. Shun, the lead surgeon, was at the peak of his career. It wasn't that Lin Shi didn't want to upgrade Dr. Shun to a higher tier. The truth was, Dr. Shun, a top expert in neurosurgery, was already over 50 and had limited aptitude and potential. Forcing him to Tier 6 would overload his body, which would be detrimental to the surgery. The issue of the lead surgeon was resolved. For a month, Lin Shi diligently studied neurology, medicine, surgery, and patient care. His learning ability was extraordinarily brilliant. In just one day, he learned what would take an ordinary person years to comprehend. He even used corpses collected in his spatial storage to practice. However, Lin Shi had no intention of personally operating on Lin Rongxuan. A month later, Lin Shi would observe the entire surgical process for Lin Rongxuan. This study was primarily to prevent any issues with the lead surgeon or unexpected situations, allowing Lin Shi to assist promptly rather than standing by helplessly. Lin Shi also announced that if the surgery was successful, everyone involved would be personally rewarded with a Tier 5 origin beast, and the chief physician would receive a Tier 6 origin beast. Knowing how much Lin Shi valued Lin Rongxuan, no one in the research institute dared to take this surgery lightly. Everyone poured their all into the preparations, even more actively than in the pre-apocalyptic era. Outside, the base maintained its usual calm. Lin Tianrui even made time to visit the research institute every day to check on the progress, despite his myriad of duties. The survivors and soldiers had no idea that beneath this peaceful facade, scientists were frantically preparing for a monumental surgery. They also didn't know that their hero, Lin Shi, the man they always admired for his fierce and decisive combat against origin beasts, was diligently studying surgical knowledge right inside their own base. Time flew by. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed. 2 days before Lin Rongxuan's surgery, Lin Xiyuan successfully unlocked his Tier 6 gene lock within the month. Lin Shi went to the research institute to double-check the preparations. "Lin, my boy, you're just in time. The surgical equipment is ready, and the operating room is set up. In 2 days, we will perform the surgery in an environment of -30 degrees. The low temperature will inhibit the activity of the cancer cells in Lin Rongxuan's brain. Furthermore, we've simulated the -30-degree condition beforehand and confirmed it won't affect the lead surgeon's performance. However, there is an issue I need to discuss with you." Li Xinke coughed. Dr. Shun spoke up. We discovered that while the patient is unconscious, the growth of the brain cancer cells is faster and more aggressive than normal. Therefore, if we use local anesthesia and operate while the patient is awake, the success rate will be higher than with general anesthesia. However, due to an evolver's rapid cell regeneration, the local anesthesia might wear off midway. If the patient feels pain, we will administer more anesthesia. Lin Shi frowned. The skull is the hardest bone in the human body. Cranial surgery usually requires tools to open the skull. The pain of doing so without anesthesia was easy to imagine. Moreover, undergoing surgery while awake required a psychological endurance not everyone possessed. Lin Rongxuan didn't think long. Then let's go with local anesthesia. I don't like losing consciousness. If it hurts, I'll definitely speak up. Since Lin Rongxuan agreed, Lin Shi had no reason to object and could only nod. Then there are no more issues. I suggest everyone involved in the surgery rest well for these 2 days to be in peak condition for the operation, especially Director Li. How long has it been since you rested, Director? Dr. Shen added. Li Xianke was taken aback. In his dictionary, the word rest didn't seem to exist. Previously, when he was an ordinary person, he lacked sleep due to his scientific research. Since becoming an evolver, even with more abundant energy, his rest time was still pitifully scarce. Sometimes, he worked continuously for days and nights without resting. Li Xianke looked around the lab, seeing a bunch of people with dark circles like pandas. He pondered for a moment and said, "Then let's take turns resting for a day." "I have one more request," Lin Shi said, drawing everyone's attention. "During the surgery in 2 days, if I tell anyone to leave the operating room, no matter what you are doing, leave immediately. Don't ask questions, don't hesitate. Get out of the operating room right away." Lin Shi made this request because if Lin Rongxuan's surgery became too dangerous or after the excision was complete, he needed to clear everyone out so Lin Siyuan could use his healing ability. What? Everyone was stunned. Leaving the operating room mid-surgery? What kind of nonsense was this? They had never heard of such a request. Dr. Shun and the surgical assistants brought in to help were even more shocked, looking at Lin Shi in disbelief. As medical professionals, even if an accident occurred mid-surgery, they couldn't just abandon the patient and run. Now, a patient's family member was demanding they interrupt the surgery and leave at any given moment. A nurse brought in by Dr. Shin widened her eyes and asked, "Even during an emergency resuscitation, we have to leave?" Lin Shi nodded slightly. "That's right. No matter the situation, as long as you hear me tell you to leave, you must leave immediately, even if it's at the most critical stage of the surgery." Hearing this, everyone had different reactions. If they hadn't witnessed Lin Shi's care for Lin Rongxuan over the past month, they might have thought Lin Shi and Lin Rongxuan were mortal enemies. Lin Rongxuan, the one undergoing the surgery, had no objections. He trusted Lin Shi wouldn't harm him. To put it simply, when I tell you to leave immediately, whoever doesn't leave dies. Understood. Lin Shi revealed a flash of murderous intent, speaking coldly. Everyone who heard Lin Shi's words shuddered. Li Xianke also seriously realized Lin Shi wasn't negotiating and decisively shouted, "When the time comes, just listen to the kid. Is that clear?" "Clear." Everyone replied in unison. After instructing the others, Lin Shi turned to Lin Rongxuan. "Trust me." Lin Rongxuan nodded. "Don't feel pressured. If the surgery fails, don't blame yourself, and don't blame the others. It's just my fate." He didn't want this surgery to put too much pressure on Lin Shi. Lin Shi said, "It won't fail." 2 days later, Lin Rongxuan was wheeled into the state-of-the-art operating room specially built by the Research Institute. Inside, Lin Shi, Li Xianke, and 3 students, along with Dr. Shun and his surgical team, were all present. Lin Rongxuan had been prepped beforehand. His previously thick black hair had been shaved clean, revealing a bald head. He lay on the operating table, covered in tubes and instruments. Seeing everyone looking so serious, Lin Rongxuan rubbed his bald head and smiled brightly at Lin Shi. "Do you think my bald head looks handsome?" Lin Shi's mouth twitched slightly, and he said helplessly, "Yeah, I know. You're handsome even without hair." Lin Shi quietly ignored him. Soon after, the anesthesiologist injected local anesthesia into Lin Rongxuan's sterilized scalp. Once the anesthesia took effect, the surgery officially began. Everyone immediately turned serious. Dr. Shin used a specially made scalpel to incise Lin Rongxuan's scalp. Then, he switched tools and began cutting into Lin Rongxuan's skull. Lin Rongxuan kept his eyes open, using his mental power to watch Dr. Shin use various tools on his head. The scene felt like he was watching a dissection. He quickly withdrew his attention, focusing on Lin Shi, who was standing a few steps away. Sensing Lin Rongxuan's gaze, Lin Shi nodded, offering a reassuring look. He closely watched Dr. Shin's every move. Li Xinke and the students monitored the status of the dark mass in Lin Rongxuan's brain on the screens. As Dr. Shin carefully removed a piece of the skull, everyone looked at Lin Rongxuan's exposed brain. A normal human brain is pale pink, but about 3/5 of Lin Rongxuan's brain was black. The black portion had the exact same morphology as a normal brain. Dr. Shin carefully scanned the image of Lin Rongxuan's brain using his mental power. The surgery had reached a critical stage. Next, Dr. Shin needed to quickly pinpoint the surgical sites and excise the black portion of Lin Rongxuan's brain. Then, Lin Shi would use his telekinesis to rapidly extract the excised brain tissue. To prevent any mishaps, Dr. Shin had to make several deep cuts continuously within a very short time frame. Old Shin, don't be afraid. Just do it like in practice. Go ahead and cut. Sensing the tense atmosphere in the operating room, Lin Rongxuan spoke up to Dr. Shin. After hesitating for a few dozen seconds, Dr. Shin finally made the cut. He truly lived up to his reputation as a clinical surgeon with over 30 years of experience and a highly respected figure in the field. Dr. Shin's cut was fast and precise, avoiding the nerves and separating the dark brain tissue from the healthy part. The excised brain tissue was as soft as tofu, yet still elastic. Dr. Shin didn't stop, quickly and continuously making several more cuts. Every time Dr. Shin cut out a piece of the black brain tissue, Lin Shi immediately used telekinesis to extract it and place it on a tray. They coordinated flawlessly, without the slightest delay. Right at that moment, Lin Rongxuan, who had his eyes open and was talking just a moment ago, closed his eyes without anyone noticing. The brainwave monitor suddenly emitted an abnormal alarm. Lin Shi kept his mental power focused on Lin Rongxuan. Severing the brain could lead to a coma. This had been thoroughly discussed before the surgery. A coma wasn't a major issue as long as his vital signs remained stable. The terrifying part was if the dark mass in the brain mutated. Sure enough, after Lin Rongxuan fell into a coma, the dark brain tissue that had already been excised seemed to sense something and began to reactivate. The unextracted dark portions sprouted tiny tentacles, preparing to reconnect with the healthy brain tissue. Dr. Shin had never seen such a sight. He paused for a second, unsure if he should continue the surgery. Lin Shi had anticipated this situation. How could he waste precious time? In a flash, he stood beside Dr. Shin, taking over his position and task. In just 1 second, he rapidly extracted all of Lin Rongxuan's black brain tissue. After the black tissue was removed, those with mental power noticed that several crucial nerve centers in Lin Rongxuan's brain had also been infected with the blackness. Lin Shi didn't hesitate. He immediately grabbed another scalpel. Dr. Shin tried to stop him, but Lin Shi swiftly and decisively severed those nerves and used his telekinesis to extract them. These nerve cells, which were supposed to be reconnected to the remaining brain during the surgery, had now been mostly excised by Lin Shi. At the same time, the surgical instruments blared with abnormal alarms again. Dr. Shin was about to call for help, but before he could act, he heard Lin Shi roar, "Leave here immediately." Everyone was startled, but under Lin Shi's overwhelming murderous intent, they quickly evacuated the operating room. Once everyone was gone, Lin Shi shifted his thoughts, bringing Lin Siyuan out of the storage space. Seeing Lin Rongxuan's unexpected condition, Lin Shi said gravely, "Siyuan, I'm counting on you. You must save him." The operating room doors opened, and Dr. Shin, Li Xinke, and the others filed out. The doors closed behind them. When Lin Shi spoke, he simultaneously locked his murderous intent onto everyone except Lin Siyuan. Feeling the suffocating pressure and the threat to their lives, they didn't dare not run. Only when they were out of the operating room and in the connecting hallway did everyone breathe a sigh of relief. Dr. Shin was even still holding a bloodstained scalpel. "Dr. Shin, This surgery failed, didn't it? Asked a young man, an assistant specially invited by Dr. Shun. Before they came out, Lin Rongxuan's vital signs had already started acting up. He had watched Lin Shi excise more than half of Lin Rongxuan's infected nerve slices. Among them were many crucial nerves. As a rising star in the surgical field, he knew perfectly well that in this situation, an ordinary person absolutely could not survive. Dr. Shin shook his head sadly. If those infected nerves weren't removed, the black parasite would continue to spread. Although the excision will affect some bodily functions, there was still a chance of survival. But without those nerves, even if Lin Rongxuan survives, he'll just be a cripple. A Tier 6 Evolver's regenerative ability is very strong, but it's limited to healing broken bones, flesh wounds, and internal injuries. It can't grow new nerves, regenerate a brain, or regrow severed limbs. But as long as a person is alive, there's always hope, right? Who knows? Maybe one day our medical technology will advance enough to help Lin Rongxuan fully recover. He had prepared so thoroughly for this surgery. For it to end so abruptly left him filled with immense regret and remorse. Dr. Shin shook his head sadly. We did our best. What a pity. Dr. Shin's assistants saw his expression. Though they didn't say anything, they were all indignant inside. They felt wronged for Dr. Shun and the patient. They felt Lin Shi's actions were truly flawed. The surgery was almost done, yet he kicked them out when the patient was in critical danger. At that moment, Lin Shi's mental power had enveloped the entire operating room. Because everyone else's mental power was lower than Lin Shi's, no one could probe inside to see what was happening. An assistant whispered, if Dr. Shun had been allowed to continue the rescue, he might have survived. But now, he probably can't be saved. Stopping the surgery halfway and kicking us out. I've never seen this kind of surgery in my entire life. All right, that's enough. We've fulfilled our responsibilities. The patient's family has already given up. Let's not talk about it anymore. The others also murmured among themselves, unable to hold back their complaints. They had been at the research institute for a month and interacted with Lin Shi frequently, so they had forgotten his reputation for being cold and ruthless at the base. Li Xinke frowned. These people weren't foolish doctors who only knew how to work in a hospital all day. How dare they gossip about Lin Shi right here? Although he didn't understand Lin Shi's actions, it was Lin Shi's business anyway. They just needed to do their jobs well. This old man seemed oblivious to worldly affairs, but he was actually very sensitive to certain issues. Li Xinke immediately interrupted. All right, that's enough about this. This matter is classified at the highest secrecy level of the base. No one is allowed to disclose what they saw or heard here today. Yes, Director Li. Dr. Shun sighed again, preparing to lead everyone away. Right at that moment, the operating room doors slowly opened. Lin Shi walked out. Dr. Shun thought Lin Shi needed them to suture the cranial incision for the deceased to give the man some dignity. They had done this many times before. So, he said sternly to the young doctor, you go. Bring the scalpel back. Dr. Shun handed the scalpel, made from Tier 7 materials and incredibly rare, to the young doctor. He didn't go into the operating room himself because he found Lin Rongxuan to be a cheerful, easygoing person, and having grown close over the past month, he couldn't bear to handle his corpse. The young doctor understood Dr. Shin's intention, nodded, took the scalpel, and walked into the operating room. Lin Shi stepped out and called for Li Xinke. Old man Li, come in. Previously, Li Xinke and Lin Shi had agreed to keep a portion of Lin Rongxuan's brain for research after the surgery. Hearing Lin Shi call him, he assumed Lin Shi was calling him in to collect samples, so he hurriedly went in with his students. 4 people entered the operating room, 1 preparing to suture a corpse, and 3 going in to collect samples. No one thought Lin Rongxuan was still alive, until the young Dr. Shin sent and was the first to step into the operating room. He saw Lin Rongxuan sitting perfectly healthy on the operating table. His first reaction was that his eyes were playing tricks on him. He squinted and looked closer. Then, the shocked gasps of Li Xinke and his students from behind snapped him back to reality. You're okay? Someone pointed at Lin Rongxuan. Actually, Lin Rongxuan himself was also bewildered. He touched his head, a patch of smooth skin, no incision scar. If it weren't for the bloodstains still on the operating table and the excised brain tissue on the tray, Lin Rongxuan would have thought he just woke up from a dream. In that dream, he seemed to have seen Siyuan too. Only Lin Shi and Lin Siyuan knew what happened after everyone left the operating room. Lin Shi remained calm, showing no signs of abnormality. Lin Siyuan had already returned to his spatial storage. The operating room looked as if nothing had happened. Lin Rongxuan, who was dying just moments ago, was now sitting healthily on the operating table. Li Xinke immediately rushed to the instruments and began operating them. The Research Institute's operating room was different from standard pre-apocalyptic ones because it was designed to monitor Lin Rongxuan's brain condition at all times. Li Xinke had prepared all the necessary equipment. The scanner quickly mapped Lin Rongxuan's brain. The image showed a complete, healthy brain. No dark mass, no missing brain tissue whatsoever. Lin Shi looked at the perfect brain image on the screen, finally dispelling his anxiety. Sure enough, this plan was viable. Lin Siyuan's ability was the key to the success of this surgery. Lin Shi was satisfied. Li Xinke and his students were dumbfounded. In this day and age, could a brain that had been cut up so much just grow back instantly? Li Xinke and his students felt that it wasn't Lin Rongxuan who grew a new brain, but rather they themselves who needed to grow a new one. What was going on? How was this possible? The young doctors felt their medical knowledge take a massive hit. They had only left for a short while. What exactly happened? Could it be a miracle? Other than a miracle, they couldn't think of any scenario where the patient could wake up, recovering completely after having a large portion of the brain and so many nerves removed. Not just recovering, but practically getting a brand new brain. Could it be? While they were gone, Lin Shi transplanted a new brain into Lin Rongxuan. This was unbelievable. The commotion drew Dr. Shun's attention from the hallway. Dr. Shun frowned. Just suturing the head wound. Why all the noise? What will the patient's family think? Dr. Shun was about to go in and check when he saw a young doctor step out of the operating room. He looked dazed, his face full of doubt about life. Dr. Shun frowned. Shaoli, what's wrong? The young doctor named Shaoli gaped, saying excitedly, Dr. Shun, the patient. Success. The surgery was a success. Dr. Shun completely bypassed the babbling young man and stepped into the operating room. By now, Lin Rongxuan had stood up and was talking to Li Xinke. Seeing Lin Rongxuan standing there safe and sound, Dr. Shun felt his views on medicine, humanity, and the world all collapse. He was about to rush over to check Lin Rongxuan's condition when Lin Shi swiftly stopped him. Dr. Shun, your task is complete. You've stepped out, so you know what you should and shouldn't say. Actually, Lin Shi didn't necessarily have to keep it a secret from them. After all, with his current power, he wasn't afraid of anyone causing trouble. He just didn't like unexpected hassles. Dr. Shun looked at Lin Shi in disbelief. Finally, under Lin Shi's cold gaze, he stepped back. He tried his best to suppress his curiosity. When Dr. Shun walked out of the operating room, a few of his assistants were still standing in the hallway. Seeing Dr. Shun come out, they hurriedly asked, Dr. Shun, how is it? Is he really alive? Dr. Shun's mouth twitched. He didn't know if he should say it or not. Finally, remembering Lin Shi's cold gaze from earlier, he swallowed the story about Lin Rongxuan. The surgery is over, and our job is done. Once we leave here, don't ask any questions. Even though Dr. Shun didn't say anything, the young doctor had already said Lin Rongxuan survived. They thought Lin Rongxuan was saved by Lin Shi, completely unaware that Lin Rongxuan was now as perfectly healthy as a normal person. As a result, for a time afterward, those young doctors who participated in the surgery began to believe in absurd myths, refusing to listen to anyone's reasoning. After sending Dr. Shun and the others away, Lin Shi had Li Xinke give Lin Rongxuan a thorough full-body examination. The test results showed that Lin Rongxuan was currently very healthy, even more robust than an origin beast. Li Xinke couldn't contain his curiosity and asked Lin Shi how this was possible. Receiving only Lin Shi's silent response, the old man had no choice but to drop it. Never mind then. However, Li Xinke took the excised portion of Lin Rongxuan's brain away for research. That same day, Lin Rongxuan and Lin Shi left the Research Institute. With his brain regenerated, Lin Rongxuan felt his head flooded with so many things that his mind was in utter chaos. He wanted to go home and rest thoroughly for a few days, to let Lin Rongxuan rest well. Lin Shi asked Lin Tianrui to find him a place near the Wulong courtyard. As for himself, He returned to the Wulong courtyard and brought Lin Siyuan out of the spatial storage. Whatever you saw today, you must not tell anyone, nor bring it up again. Even if I ask you about it in the future, you are not to tell me. Understood. If it were anyone else, Lin Shi might have killed them already. But this was Lin Siyuan. Lin Shi knew Lin Siyuan's ability would be very useful in the future. Plus, the boy always revered him like a god, so Lin Shi couldn't kill him. Lin Siyuan nodded seriously. His small face was still pale from overusing his ability. Uncle, I swear I won't tell even if I die. Since reaching Tier 6, Lin Siyuan's healing ability had strengthened. Now, even without expending physical energy, he could help people heal broken bones. I hope you understand the severity of this matter. Alright, you've worked hard today. Go get some good rest. Tomorrow, I'll cook something delicious for you. Lin Siyuan nodded vigorously. His face beamed with joy. He could finally help Uncle, and he even saved that older cousin. What delicious food would Uncle cook tomorrow? He was so excited. For the next 2 days, Lin Shi stayed at the base, observing Lin Rongshuan's recovery. Lin Rongshuan said that after his brain recovered, he remembered a lot of memories he couldn't recall before, especially from 10 years ago. Many things he had completely forgotten were now slowly coming back to him. Speaking of this, Lin Rongshuan's eyes shifted evasively. He felt like he had remembered some terrible things. Lin Shi didn't think much of it. For a normal person to suddenly recall so many memories, finding it hard to accept was perfectly normal. Lin Shi told Lin Rongshuan to rest well and not to rush. After all, his body had recovered now, so the memories would slowly return. 2 days later, Lin Tianrui's people found Lin Shi. A month ago, the leader of the Chun family base, Chun Tianxiong, had contacted Lin Tianrui, hoping he could send someone to escort them to the Xia nation's territory and arrange accommodations for them. After the beast tide and those subsequent events, Chun Tianxiong knew the Chun family base's momentum was gone and didn't want to rebuild it. Instead of resting under a big tree, let's return to the matter of the hidden families from the previous generation. Lin Tianrui immediately sent people on an icebreaker to pick up Chun Tianxiong and the others. Calculating the time, they would arrive at the base in about a week. Over the past few years, the base had expanded and now covered the entirety of Xia City, so there was room for everyone. But Lin Tianrui still wanted to ask Lin Shi what kind of suitable accommodations should be arranged for these people. Back then, Lin Shi was the one responsible for contacting the Chun family base, and he had stayed there for a while. Lin Tianrui wanted to ask Lin Shi's opinion on the Chun family members. Lin Shi thought for a moment. The Chun family, aside from a few individuals, are mostly good people. They aren't bad sorts. Chun Tianxiong, the head of the Chun family, doesn't have overly grand ambitions, but we should still keep our guard up. If we let Chun Tianxiong completely integrate into the official base, having such a powerful faction join, for Lin Tianrui, would be hard to manage and prone to issues. It's better to let them self-govern, then slowly divide and assimilate them. Lin Shi told Lin Tianrui to allocate an area at the border of the base for the Chun family, letting them manage the survivors of the Chun family base themselves. Lin Shi and Lin Tianrui thought along similar lines. So, Lin Tianrui began arranging accommodations for the survivors of the Chun family base. Afterward, seeing that Lin Rongshuan was recovering well, Lin Shi resumed hunting origin beasts. Lin Rongshuan, on the other hand, often took advantage of Lin Shi's absence to sneak over and find Lin Siyuan, asking about his childhood and where he used to live. This was Lin Siyuan's private matter, and Lin Shi hadn't forced him to keep it a secret, so Lin Siyuan didn't hide anything from Lin Rongshuan. Time passed just like that. That day, Lin Shi returned home and saw Lin Siyuan staring blankly at the pond in the courtyard, looking lost in thought. What's wrong? You look like something's weighing heavily on your mind. Lin Shi was a bit surprised. Lin Siyuan rarely showed such an expression. Did something happen during the 2 days he was away from the base? Lin Siyuan's small face was full of conflict, unsure if he should bother Lin Shi with his trivial matters. He felt that Lin Rongshuan's attitude toward him had been getting weirder and weirder these past few days. Did your hunting go smoothly these past few days, uncle? Did you get hurt? Lin Siyuan prioritized asking about Lin Shi's safety. Lin Shi smiled. It felt good to have someone put his well-being first. He patted Lin Siyuan's head. I'm fine. I spent the last few days looking for that Titan python that got away, but I still haven't found it. I conveniently hunted a few origin beasts that strayed from the horde. They were all the kind I could kill with a wave of my hand. No danger at all. The gate opened, and a figure stepped into the courtyard from outside. Lin Rongxuan walked in, holding a box of chocolates of unknown origin. Seeing Lin Shi's figure in the courtyard, he froze for a moment. Lin Shi usually concealed his aura, so even if Lin Rongxuan used his mental power, he couldn't detect him. Therefore, unexpectedly, seeing Lin Shi startled him, and he wanted to run away. Lin Shi had already noticed Lin Rongxuan walking over. Seeing him try to turn back right after entering the courtyard, Lin Shi asked suspiciously, "What are you doing, Dad?" Lin Rongxuan, who was about to step out, stopped, scratched his head, and stammered, I was planning to go to that kid Qi Yun's house, but I walked into the wrong door." "Huh, you guys keep chatting, don't mind me." Lin Shi's gaze fell on the box of chocolates in Lin Rongxuan's hand. "Since when is your relationship with Qi Yun so good that you're giving him chocolates? And Qi Yun doesn't seem to like sweets, does he?" Lin Siyuan's expression was complicated. If he wasn't mistaken, that box of chocolates was meant for him. Lately, Lin Rongxuan had been trying every possible way to bring toys and candies to Lin Siyuan, leaving him both confused and suspicious. Lin Rongxuan had to beat around the bush. "That kid Qi Yun has his eye on a girl. I'm helping him find some chocolates to give her." Lin Shi didn't suspect much. "Since you're already here, don't leave just yet. Let's have lunch together." He also wanted to ask Lin Rongxuan about the progress of his memory recovery over the past few days. At noon, Lin Shi went into the kitchen, and Lin Siyuan helped out. Lin Rongxuan wanted to help too, but 3 people in the kitchen were a bit cramped, and his presence only made things messier. Finally, Lin Shi kicked both father and son out. Lin Rongxuan and Lin Siyuan sat across from each other at the dining table, staring at one another. Lin Rongxuan looked at Lin Siyuan's complicated expression, thought about his recovered memories, and looked up at the ceiling with a look of misery. What should he do? He had just found out he had another son, becoming a father all over again. Would his son despise him for being a scumbag and irresponsible? Should he apologize to Yuan? It all started 11 years ago when Lin Rongxuan was being hunted by Qi Qiuheng and fled to Europe. At that time, the condition of his brain was extremely severe, and he would occasionally fall into sudden comas without warning. After one such coma, he was picked up by an overseas Chinese woman and taken to the hospital. The woman was kind-hearted, but she never expected to bring disaster upon herself. Lin Rongxuan woke up and realized things were bad. The woman was about to leave when Qi Qiuheng's men tracked the medical records to the hospital. They assumed the woman was Lin Rongxuan's accomplice. To protect this innocent woman, Lin Rongxuan had no choice but to flee the hospital with her. Unexpectedly, that was the beginning of a mistake. At that time, Lin Rongxuan was only a Tier 2 evolver. After leaving the hospital, the after effects of his rapid mutation and the dark mass in his head grew even stronger. He fell into a coma again. This time, he even felt like he might never wake up. About a week later, he woke up. The woman who saved him had brought him back to an old house in the countryside, taking care of him for a week. Upon waking up, Lin Rongxuan had forgotten why he was in Europe. Even the pursuit was recounted to him by the woman. After that, the story turned cliché. Lin Rongxuan lost his memory, and the woman developed feelings for him. They fell in love and lived in seclusion in the countryside. But the happiness was short-lived. Not even a few months later, Qi Qiuheng's men found them again. To protect the woman, Lin Rongxuan fought them to the death, accidentally breaking through to the Tier 3 gene lock. After killing all the enemies, he also recovered a portion of his memories. Lin Rongxuan immediately realized he had made a grave mistake. By then, the woman was already pregnant. He didn't want to deceive her, nor could he accept another woman after regaining his memories. Therefore, he omitted many crucial details and told her the truth. The woman was quite open-minded. Although she was sad, she was willing to let go. However, she hoped Lin Rongxuan could take the child so she could start over. Lin Rongxuan was trying to flee and naturally couldn't bring a child along. But since it was his fault anyway, after the woman gave birth, he brought the baby to a childless family, who would later become Lin Siyuan's adoptive parents. He entrusted Lin Siyuan to them. For the next few years, Lin Rongxuan would take some time every year to go back and visit Lin Siyuan. Because the child was born from a mistake, and Lin Siyuan wasn't like Lin Shi, he didn't carry the bloodline of the hidden family. The boy grew up as an ordinary person. Seeing that Lin Siyuan was living quite well, Lin Rongxuan felt relieved. After that, he stopped visiting. At that time, Lin Siyuan's adoptive parents' own child hadn't been born yet. Lin Rongxuan had no idea that Lin Siyuan would later go through so many hardships and even almost get killed. Lin Rongxuan's memories gradually faded, and he completely forgot he had a son named Lin Siyuan. His greatest obsession remained Lin Shi and the mission to unlock the cornucopia. It wasn't until this surgery that his memories fully recovered. Lin Rongxuan looked over at Lin Siyuan. Through his inquiries over the past few days, he knew his son had been through a lot of hardships over the years. This made him feel even more guilty. He felt he had wronged Ah Yuan, wronged Lin Shi, and wronged this son who had no choice in the matter. The simple dinner consisted of only a pot of braised fish, a plate of stir-fried meat, a plate of pickled vegetables with tofu, and 3 bowls of white rice. Simple yet decent. It was originally an ordinary meal, but in the apocalypse, it was a rare delicacy for ordinary people. But Lin Rongxuan was heavy-hearted, restless, and had no appetite. His mind was entirely consumed by how to resolve this matter. Should he confess and seek leniency, or rot in prison until old age? Should he hide it forever? After all, everyone who knew about it was probably dead by now. Dad, how's your health been these past few days? Have your memories fully recovered? Lin Shi was the first to speak. It's here. The inevitable question is finally here. Lin Rongxuan immediately sat up straight, like a kid who bombed his final exams facing his parents' interrogation. He hurriedly replied, "Much better. Everything's great." Lin Shi noticed Lin Rongxuan acting weird and asked, "Did you remember something unusual?" A cold chill ran down Lin Rongxuan's spine. He was torn inside. To tell or not to tell. Just then, a loud knock came from the courtyard, followed by a shout. "Is Officer Lin back?" Lin Shi went to open the door. Outside stood a researcher Lin Shi had met before at the research institute. The researcher beamed when he saw Lin Shi. "Officer Lin, you're finally back. Professor Li wants you to head to the research institute immediately. The results for that item from last time are out." The item the researcher mentioned was the dark brain tissue surgically removed from Lin Rongxuan's head. Hearing that this concerned both Lin Shi and himself, Lin Rongxuan quickly said, "I'll go right now." Lin Shi replied to the researcher, "We'll head over right after we finish eating." The researcher left first. After eating, Lin Siyuan stayed behind in the courtyard while Lin Shi and Lin Rongxuan went to the research institute together. Seeing them both arrive, Li Xinke said, "You two came at the perfect time. My students and I have been analyzing and researching the brain tissue removed from the patient, and we made an unexpected discovery." "What discovery?" Lin Shi asked. "We found that the dark area in Lin Rongxuan's brain probably didn't appear out of nowhere. It originates at the genetic level. It's a product of evolution, not a virus or a parasite." Li Xinke's eyes gleamed with fascination. He spouted a bunch of technical jargon, getting more confusing by the second. Lin Rongxuan interrupted. "Director Li, just explain it in simple terms that normal people can understand. What exactly is it?" "Simply put, that dark mass in your brain grew on its own. It wasn't caused by external forces or factors. It's likely been in your brain since you were a child. And our research shows that it's migratory. Do you two understand now?" Li Xinke wasn't angry at being interrupted and patiently explained. Migratory. Lin Rongxuan didn't quite grasp the whole picture, but he understood the word migratory immediately. "You mean this thing will move?" Lin Rongxuan caught the crucial point in Li Xinke's words. "Exactly. We suspect this dark mass will migrate. That's why I want to do a full body checkup on you, Lin Shi. What do you say?" Li Xinke turned to Lin Shi, his burning gaze making Lin Shi shudder slightly. During the last checkup, they had issues with the needles, so drawing blood was a failure. Later, they painstakingly created a special needle for high-level evolvers, which was first used on Lin Rongxuan. This time, Li Xinke was determined to examine Lin Shi. He had to do it. Absolutely had to. Right now, Lin Rongxuan was both agitated and anxious. Lin Shi was his son. If that dark mass in the brain really migrated, Lin Shi would be the one most severely affected. He himself had shown symptoms in his 20s, and Lin Shi was currently in his 20s too. Lin Shi thought for a moment and nodded in agreement. If that thing was in his brain too, they wouldn't find it without an examination, because they had previously discovered that this dark mass could deceive the host's spiritual power. Detecting it himself was impossible. As for Lin Shi's body, apart from himself, no one else could probe it with their spiritual power. However, Lin Shi requested that only Li Xinke be allowed to examine him, and all test results must be kept strictly confidential. Li Xinke agreed. And so, amidst Li Xinke's excited expression and Lin Rongshuan's tense face, Lin Shi underwent a full-body examination, especially a comprehensive brain scan. Looking at the familiar brain image appearing on the screen, Lin Shi frowned. There was indeed a dark area in his brain. Although it was very small, only about the size of a thumb, it was located at the base of the brain, near the neural region. Our hypothesis was right. Li Xinke looked at Lin Shi's brain scan, even more excited than Lin Shi himself. Lin Rongshuan's face drastically changed when he saw the dark area in Lin Shi's brain. He had experienced it himself and knew exactly how terrifying this dark mass was. Currently, there were only 3 people in the lab: Lin Shi, Lin Rongshuan, and Li Xinke. Li Xinke said bluntly, "I'll be blunt. If I'm not mistaken, you two are father and son, right?" Lin Shi knew this had already been tested, so he didn't hide it and nodded. "Don't worry, kid. I won't leak the fact that you're father and son, nor your medical results. Even if that brat Lin Tianrui begs me, I won't give them to him. Rest assured, this old man will keep your secret." "Director Li, how should we treat this now?" "Surgery," Lin Rongshuan asked anxiously. Li Xinke replied, "The dark area is still very small. It might be because Lin Shi's physique is too strong and his spiritual power is too astonishing, so the dark area hasn't developed yet. Or perhaps there's another reason. We need to research further to see if there's a way to stop the growth of the dark area in the brain. We need to find a cure. But before that, I want to ask about your ancestors. Did your great-grandfather or ancestors ever experience similar issues, or die young?" Lin Rongshuan thought for a moment and nodded slightly. "I heard my grandfather passed away in his 40s. My father died when I was about 20. He was also around 40. Before he died, he kept forgetting things, kind of like an old man with dementia." Only now did Lin Rongshuan realize the anomaly. Normally, martial artists who trained their bodies for years and lived in the deep mountains with fresh air should theoretically live very long lives. But when he was young, Lin Rongshuan didn't pay attention to this. Later, he lived in exile for years with jumbled memories, so he never considered that his condition might have appeared in his ancestors. At this moment, Lin Rongshuan suddenly remembered that as he was growing up, his father had urged him to marry early, have kids, and carry on the family line, and it absolutely had to be done before he turned 25. Thinking back now, his father must have known that their bloodline suffered from severe memory loss by middle age. "Have you guys never gone to a hospital for a checkup before?" Li Xinke asked. Lin Rongshuan scratched his head. "My whole family used to live in the mountains. We rarely went down to the city, let alone visited a hospital." No wonder, Li Xinke muttered. "It seems this is a failed evolutionary path. What a pity. It'd be great if we had more test subjects." Li Xinke talked about the failure. Lin Rongshuan didn't understand. Lin Shi, who had been silently pondering, suddenly asked, "You're saying the dark mass in our brains is a genetic evolutionary path, and a failed one at that?" Li Xinke nodded. "Think of it this way. This mutated brain tissue looks very active. It can completely replace the functions of the old brain. Aside from affecting memory, I think it's even more suitable for humans than our current brains." Lin Shi asked, "If it's an evolutionary path, why is it only passed down in our family? There have never been similar cases in other people before. Many biological genes in this world are unique. It's not uncommon for such cases to appear. With humanity's current understanding of genetics, there are still many things we can't fully explain," Li Xinke reasoned. "The evolutionary process of species will always have variations. The appearance of mutations or other unexpected phenomena is perfectly normal." But for some reason, Lin Shi thought of the existence of the treasure bowl. He realized that the dark brain mass and the treasure bowl shared one thing in common. Neither could be probed by spiritual power. What if the darkness in the brain was caused by the treasure bowl? Perhaps the first ancestor who unlocked the treasure bowl left this migratory darkness in the brains of future generations. Doesn't this explanation make more sense? And this hypothesis was terrifying. Lin sure knew that after unlocking the treasure bowl, it felt like it was somewhere in his head. But whether he used spiritual power or his mind, he couldn't detect its location. This time, relying on Li Xianke's examination, Lin Shu's main goal was to see if current human equipment could detect the existence of the treasure bowl. The truth proved it couldn't. Lin Shu couldn't reveal the existence of the treasure bowl, so he couldn't establish a causal link between the treasure bowl and the darkness in his brain. Seeing Lin Shu stay silent, Li Xianke continued, "Your brain's condition is still in the early stages. If you want surgery, the sooner the better. Surgery will be easier now, and we won't have a situation like last time." To this day, they were still baffled by how Lin Rongxuan was saved last time. Li Xianke and his students secretly guessed that Lin Shu had some special mutated plant or a unique ability to save Lin Rongxuan. "I'm not having surgery," Lin Shu flatly refused without hesitation. If his guess was right, the treasure bowl was likely suppressing the darkness in his brain. More importantly, Lin Shu didn't want to place his life in someone else's hands. No way. Hearing that Lin Shu didn't want surgery, Lin Rongxuan grew anxious. He knew the terrifying consequences of the darkness spreading. It silently affected memory, and you only noticed it when the condition became extremely severe. Just use the same surgical method as last time. I guarantee there won't be any problems. Lin Rongxuan knew that Lin Siyuan's ability had saved him last time, so he wanted to persuade Lin Shu to get the surgery too. But Lin Shu said one sentence that left Lin Rongxuan speechless. "I'm already at Tier 8. Lin Shu was Tier 8, while Lin Siyuan was only Tier 6. From Tier 5 onwards, every tier was a massive gap, let alone a difference of 2 major tiers. If something went wrong during the surgery, even if Lin Siyuan risked his life, he might not be able to save Lin Shu. Lin Rongxuan instantly deflated. Lin Shu knew Lin Rongxuan was just worried about him, overly worried. He looked at Lin Rongxuan, signaling him to calm down. Li Xianke didn't know what secret they were discussing, but Lin Shu's refusal was within his expectations. All right. It's your decision. If you're not having surgery, remember to come here once a month so I can check on you." Lin Shu's physical strength and spiritual power had already surpassed the measurement limits of current equipment. With Lin Shu's current advancement speed, breaking through human genetic limits was entirely possible. As long as the darkness didn't spread, it wouldn't be a major issue for now. "I understand." Lin Shu and Lin Rongxuan left the Scientific Research Institute. Lin Shu found a secluded spot and told Lin Rongxuan his speculations about the treasure bowl. Hearing this, Lin Rongxuan was stunned and speechless. He also felt that Lin Shu's guess was very likely the truth. The treasure bowl did indeed exist, but what was the meaning behind it rebooting in the extreme apocalypse? An object unlike anything on Earth, yet it supported humanity so completely. What was it really? Who created the treasure bowl to help them? And was this help truly unconditional? Both of them understood a simple truth. Nothing in this world happens without a reason. The more Lin Rongxuan thought about it, the more he felt that the treasure bowl inside Lin Shu could be a hidden danger. "We have to figure out a way to get the treasure bowl out of your body. After all, your strength is already at the top of the world now." "No need," Lin Shu refused. "If it's a blessing, it's not a curse. If it's a curse, it can't be avoided. So far, the treasure bowl has always helped me. If there really is a hidden danger, it's already too late." The treasure bowl was inside Lin Shu's body. He couldn't even find it, let alone extract it. "All right then, I have a few things I want to ask you. Tell me where you've been for the past 8 years. Let's start from 8 years ago." Lin Shu wanted to understand Lin Rongxuan's situation in the years before the apocalypse. If one day he could use the ability to reverse time, he could use that point in time to find Lin Rongxuan. The moment the past was brought up, Lin Rongxuan immediately avoided his gaze, subconsciously skipping the part about Lin Siyuan and changing the subject. Lin Shu finally noticed Lin Rongxuan's unusual behavior and said, "Is there something you're hiding from me?" Lin Rongxuan bit his lips slightly, feeling that it was unavoidable no matter what. He was about to tell the truth, but while he was still hesitating, Lin Shu's walkie-talkie suddenly vibrated. "Brother Lin, the people from the Chun family base have arrived. Do you want to come take a look? It was a short message from Lin Tianrui. Perhaps unable to find Lin Shi, he had contacted him directly via the walkie-talkie. Seeing Lin Rongshuan in a tough spot, Lin Shi didn't want to press him. The people from the Chun family base are here. Want to go see? Everyone has their own secrets. Even father and son can't be completely open. Lin Shi wouldn't force it. Thinking Lin Shi was busy and that he could talk to him tonight, Lin Rongshuan happily nodded, secretly breathing a sigh of relief. Lin Shi led Lin Rongshuan to find Lin Tianrui, and they all headed to the port together. When they arrived, the icebreaker had already docked. Soldiers were maintaining order on the shore. On the ship, groups of people, young and old, disembarked. To welcome the people from the Chun family base, the base had prepared many snowmobiles. In the crowd, Lin Shi saw Chun Tianxiong and the others who had gotten off the ship alongside the order-keeping soldiers. Chun Tianxiong was the first to spot Lin Shi and Lin Tianrui, and he hurriedly walked over. "Senior Lin, you left in such a hurry last time. I didn't even get a chance to thank you. And this must be Chief Lin, right? A pleasure to meet you." Chun Tianxiong only showed courtesy to Lin Tianrui, but towards Lin Shi, he was incredibly respectful and grateful. Lin Tianrui was so flattered he didn't know what to say. It turned out that besides Li Chun, the patriarch of the hidden Chun family could also speak so pleasantly. The three of them chatted happily, leaving only Lin Rongshuan standing to the side like a block of wood. It wasn't that he couldn't join the conversation, but rather that Lin Rongshuan saw a somewhat familiar woman on the icebreaker. He didn't know if it was just a premonition. As she got off the ship, she looked toward Lin Shi. Last time, when Kuei was attacked by the giant Titan python, only 2 people were lucky enough to survive. Ji was one of them. She survived thanks to her new lover. At first, the man pulled Ji to run away from Kuei, intending to shield her in the critical moment. But the giant Titan python swung its tail too fast. The shockwave of the attack blasted Ji's lover into minced meat before he could even react. Ji was merely blown away by the gale, luckily keeping her life. Later, she ran into Chun Tianxiong gathering his clansmen, so she followed the crowd to escape. However, the Chun family base was gone, and they had lost their shelter in Kuei. Now, drifting on the sea to Xia country, Ji was extremely anxious and uneasy, not knowing what her fate would be. The feeling of having no one to rely on made her feel incredibly insecure. On the icebreaker, Ji had tried to find a backer, but those men only wanted to use her. Once they were done, they tossed her aside. This made Ji angry but helpless. Getting off the ship, Ji subconsciously looked around this unfamiliar land. Then, she saw a familiar face. Lin Shi. Ji looked at Lin Shi. He was standing next to Chun Tianxiong, and there was another person, probably the chief of the Xia country base. Wait, that man hiding behind Lin Shi. He looks familiar. If Lin Rongshuan hadn't tried to hide, it would have been fine, but he deliberately avoided her. Looking down from above, Ji accidentally locked eyes with him. The more she looked, the more familiar he seemed. She even stopped walking. "Bitch," blocking the way. "Hurry up." Ji was pushed to the ground by someone behind her. When she got up and looked again, Lin Rongshuan had disappeared. Lin Shi chatted with Chun Tianxiong and Lin Tianrui for a while. Lin Rongshuan suddenly said he had something to do, had to leave first, and vanished like the wind. Actually, ever since he returned, Lin Shi had noticed Lin Rongshuan acting strange, especially the way he looked at Lin Siyuan. Even though he tried to hide it, Lin Shi still recognized that look. It was exactly the same as how he looked at him. Just now, for a split second, Lin Rongshuan saw something that made his face show clear panic and fluster. Lin Shi had sharp spiritual power. He looked up and glanced at Ji, who was being pushed off the ship. He said to Chun Tianxiong, "Bring that woman over here." Chun Tianxiong immediately complied. Previously, when the giant Titan python destroyed the base, Chun Tianxiong had said he would submit to Lin Shi. Of course, those were just his personal words, but he himself represented the highest combat power of the Chun family. Chun Tianxiong was a man of his word. Coming to the Xia country government base this time was firstly to find a way to survive for the Chun clansmen and the survivors, preserving the Chun bloodline, and secondly, to follow Lin Shi's command. Very quickly, Chun Tianxiong brought Ji over. Ji was originally terrified when Chun Tianxiong led her over, but seeing that Lin Shi was looking for her, she was a bit surprised and amazed. My lord, you still remember me? Ji thought Lin Shi remembered her because she was Lin Siyuan's adoptive mother and wanted to take extra care of her. Lin Shi gave Lin Tianrui a heads up, took Ji to a more secluded spot, used his spiritual power to block others' line of sight, and then asked, "What did you see up there just now?" Ji froze, seemingly not expecting Lin Shi to ask that. She thought for a moment and said, "I saw you with Chief Chun." "Oh, wait, Patriarch Chun and another person. I don't know if he's the chief of the government base." "Oh, and there was a man standing behind you. He looked familiar, so I took a few extra glances. But when I fell and looked up, he was gone." Was I seeing things? Ji smiled flatteringly. She kept thinking about Lin Rongshuan's face just now. The more she thought about it, the more she felt she had met him somewhere before. Suddenly, a flash of insight hit her. Ji remembered where she had seen Lin Rongshuan. "I remember now. He's the one who gave Siyuan to me to raise." Lin Shi's eyes flickered slightly. "You can go." He thought he knew what Lin Rongshuan was hiding. Lin Siyuan was likely Lin Rongshuan's son. More accurately, his second son. Lin Shi bid farewell to Lin Tianrui and returned to the base. Lin Siyuan was reading in the courtyard. Seeing Lin Shi return, he happily ran out to greet him. Lin Shi stopped in his tracks. After guessing Lin Siyuan's identity, every time he looked at the boy, Lin Shi felt different. Lin Siyuan looked like his mother, not much like Lin Rongshuan, but his eyes still vaguely showed a resemblance to Lin Rongshuan. It was just that he had never thought about it before. Previously, he clearly never wanted to bring anyone along, yet he made an exception for a child. This spoke volumes. With his experience surviving the apocalypse, his instinct was not to bring Lin Siyuan along, but deep down, he felt an inability to abandon this child. Lin Shi had even suspected that Lin Siyuan had some sort of mental influence over people. Unexpectedly, Lin Siyuan was his half-brother. This explained why he treated Lin Siyuan differently. Because of the blood connection, it was hard to sever. "What's wrong, uncle?" Lin Siyuan was young, but very observant. "Nothing," Lin Shi replied curtly. Lin Siyuan couldn't choose whether he was born or not, so blaming the child was a very unwise thing to do. Besides, considering Lin Siyuan's age, Lin Rongshuan's actions didn't cross the line. For a normal man whose wife had been dead for over 10 years, finding another woman wasn't anything outrageous. However, even though Lin Shi kept comforting himself on the way back, deep down, a feeling of being deceived and kept in the dark still made him uncomfortable. Lin Rongshuan only recovered his memories after the surgery and only showed unusual behavior after the surgery. What about Lin Siyuan? Did he know too? Was he the only one left in the dark? Lin Shi clenched his fists, his consciousness tightening. Suddenly, Lin Shi felt his hanging hand being grasped by a small hand. Lin Siyuan looked up, staring at Lin Shi with big eyes, asking cautiously, "Uncle, what's the matter? You look unhappy." Lin Siyuan sensed that Lin Shi was a bit upset, which made him a little scared, wondering if he had done something wrong to displease Lin Shi. Seeing Lin Siyuan's expression, Lin Shi finally decided to ask clearly, "You seem to have something on your mind this morning. Can you tell me?" Lin Siyuan's eyes widened, and he nodded vigorously. "So uncle is unhappy because I had something on my mind and wasn't honest with him?" Lin Siyuan felt cared for, and a surge of joy welled up in his heart, immediately followed by anxiety and fear. He quickly told Lin Shi about how Lin Rongshuan had been frequently giving him snacks and toys over the past few days and asking about his childhood. Finally, he added, "Uncle Lin has been really weird these past few days, which made me a bit confused. I thought it was just a small thing, so I didn't intentionally hide it from you. Are you upset because of this, uncle?" "I'm so sorry, uncle. Siyuan shouldn't hide anything from you." Lin Siyuan's small face was full of regret and guilt. Actually, Lin Siyuan hadn't done anything wrong. It was just that growing up in poverty made him subconsciously flatter and try to get close to others. Now he cared a lot about Lin Shi and was terrified that Lin Shi would get mad and ignore him. Seeing Lin Siyuan's cautious, fawning expression, the anger in Lin Shi's heart vanished instantly. "You didn't do anything wrong. No need to apologize. I was just asking." Even though Lin Shi said that, Lin Siyuan still felt a bit uneasy until Lin Shi placed his large hand on the back of Lin Siyuan's neck. "Don't overthink it." After a moment of silence, Lin Shi said, "From now on, don't call me uncle." In his past and present life, He had just discovered he suddenly had a younger brother. If this half-brother had suddenly appeared, or if Lin Rongxuan had brought him over, Lin Shi definitely wouldn't have accepted it. But if it came from Lin Siyuan, accepting it wasn't that difficult. Lin Siyuan was very well-behaved, very obedient, and very useful. Even if he wasn't his biological brother, Lin Shi wouldn't abandon him. The fact that the two suddenly shared a blood tie didn't make Lin Shi uncomfortable. From the very beginning, his displeasure stemmed entirely from being kept in the dark. In fact, because of the added blood tie, when thinking about Lin Siyuan's background, Lin Shi felt even more sympathetic. Compared to himself, Lin Siyuan's background was even more tragic. After all, Lin Shi was entrusted by Lin Rongxuan to a trusted subordinate. In his childhood, he was cared for and loved by his adoptive father. But Lin Siyuan was handed over to two strangers. At such a young age, his organs were targeted, forcing him to run away from home. At just 10 years old, he had to struggle in the apocalypse for 3 years. Lin Siyuan's entire childhood was filled with darkness. Even when he came to his side, he still had to be extremely cautious and flatter him. Lin Shi sighed. Hearing Lin Shi tell him not to call him uncle anymore, Lin Siyuan thought Lin Shi wanted to abandon him. His mind went blank until he heard the next sentence from above his head. From now on, call me brother. Calling me uncle makes me sound so much older. Also, you don't need to be so cautious around me anymore. Lin Shi saw Lin Siyuan's eyes turn slightly red, his lips pouting, so he made the boy look straight at him. I won't abandon you, and I won't send you anywhere. So you don't need to be so cautious. Lin Siyuan nodded vigorously. All right, let me ask you a question. You have to answer honestly. Lin Shi suddenly remembered something. If your biological parents came looking for you, would you want to live with them? At this moment, Lin Siyuan immediately thought about why Lin Shi was acting so differently today. He thought Lin Shi had found clues about his biological parents and didn't want him to leave, which was why he was unhappy. Thinking of this possibility, Lin Siyuan felt a little happy. That means brother cares about me a lot too. Lin Siyuan said decisively, I don't want to. I only want to live with you, brother. They abandoned me. They're not my parents. Heh. Lin Shi didn't know what he was thinking, but the corners of his lips curled into a sharp, cold smile. At this moment, he wasn't very angry with Lin Rongxuan either. Lin Siyuan was the person he had found. The bond between him and Lin Siyuan was much deeper than with that unreliable father, Lin Rongxuan. Just thinking that Lin Siyuan might not acknowledge Lin Rongxuan as his father, Lin Shi immediately wanted to tell Lin Siyuan the truth. Lin Shi coughed lightly, beating around the bush for a long time before hesitantly opening his mouth. It doesn't matter. Whether you acknowledge them as your parents or not, from now on, just treat me as your family. After saying that, Lin Shi stood up and returned to his room, leaving Lin Siyuan standing alone in the courtyard, joyfully digesting Lin Shi's words. Back in his room, Lin Shi breathed a sigh of relief. He was naturally a man of few words, so saying things like family was truly difficult for him. But in his heart, Lin Shi had completely accepted Lin Siyuan as his younger brother. As for that father of his, who still thought he was hiding it so well, haha, let him keep thinking he's a master of disguise. Lin Rongxuan, who was in the courtyard, suddenly sneezed twice. The people from the Chun family base were quickly settled in. A few days later, Chun Tianxiong came looking for him. He said the Chun family had elected a new patriarch. He, the old patriarch, had retired to serve Lin Shi. But it didn't last long. By noon, Lin Shi had kicked him out. Lin Shi had no work for Chun Tianxiong to do, nor did he want an old man following him around every day. Lin Shi repeatedly promised that if he had any tasks, he would definitely find him. Only then did Chun Tianxiong leave reluctantly. That day, Lin Rongxuan seemed to have finally mentally prepared himself and pulled Lin Shi aside to talk. All right, I only recently remembered this. At first, I didn't know how to tell you, but I can't lie to you anymore. Otherwise, my conscience won't be at peace. Lin Rongxuan put on a solemn face, ready to take the blame. I made a mistake that every man in the world makes. 10 years ago, when I lost my memory in Europe, I accidentally got involved with a Chinese woman there, and we even had a son. I know it's hard for you to accept. A younger brother suddenly appearing. I accept it, Lin Shi said. I know you value blood ties, let alone now. This younger brother is currently. Wait, what did you say? You accept it. Lin Rongxuan had originally planned to spend a long time persuading Lin Shi to accept Lin Siyuan. As a result, before he even started his performance, Lin Shi had already accepted it. Lin Rongxuan was dumbfounded. Did you hear me clearly? Lin Shi looked at Lin Rongxuan, whose eyes were bulging like a pufferfish, and secretly wanted to laugh. From the moment Lin Rongxuan sneakily pulled him aside, Lin Shi had guessed what he wanted to say. Yeah, I heard you. I agree. Lin Rongxuan's jaw dropped. Could it be that my smart son has already figured it out? Do you know who that child is? Who? Lin Shi knew perfectly well, but still asked. It's Siyuan. Lin Rongxuan carefully observed Lin Shi's expression. He imagined Lin Shi might be angry, shocked, or furious, but there was no expression on Lin Shi's face at all. Just calmness. This made Lin Rongxuan even more anxious and uneasy. Lin Rongxuan always saw his son as an immortal being, high and mighty, tolerant of everything, rarely showing normal emotions. Now, facing such a huge matter, he didn't expect Lin Shi to still maintain this attitude. Lin Rongxuan didn't know that ever since he appeared, Lin Shi had become much more human, much better than before. So it's Siyuan. That's great. Lin Shi said. No way. What kind of reaction is this? Lin Rongxuan began to doubt his life. Aren't you angry? A little bit. Aren't you surprised? Also a little bit. Then don't you have anything you want to ask me? When are you planning to bring your second son back? Silence. Deadly silence. Lin Rongxuan had prepared for days, only to get this reaction from Lin Shi, completely different from what he had imagined. Lin Rongxuan rubbed his eyes, confirming he was in reality and not dreaming. After a long time, he finally spoke. As long as you accept this younger brother, I'll feel at ease bringing him back. Are you sure you can bring him back? Lin Shi's lips curled slightly into a half-smile. Seeing that expression, Lin Rongxuan thought Lin Shi was finally dropping the act. He honestly confessed, now I know, you're still a good son. I was wrong about this. I wronged your mother, I wronged you, and I also wronged Siyuan. I truly feel guilty and remorseful. Lin Rongxuan beat his chest, tightly gripping Lin Shi's hand. With deep regret, he detailed everything that happened in Europe to Lin Shi. Can you forgive Dad? Lin Shi didn't blame Lin Rongxuan in the first place. After all, Lin Rongxuan was suffering from severe amnesia at the time. Furthermore, his mother had been dead for over 10 years. Lin Shi also understood the needs of a normal man. Moreover, Lin Rongxuan's situation back then was even more complicated. Lin Shi had even less reason to blame him. I forgive you. I know I was wrong. If you don't forgive me. Wait, what? You forgive me. Lin Rongxuan found this forgiveness too easy. All the words he had prepared in his head were no longer needed. The situation shocked Lin Rongxuan quite a bit, but he quickly calmed down. Great. I really didn't want this to ruin our father-son relationship. You forgiving me is the best possible outcome. Lin Rongxuan wept tears of joy. He was truly terrified that Lin Shi wouldn't forgive him. Right now, the person he cared about most in this world was Lin Shi. Even though he now had another son, Lin Shi's place in Lin Rongxuan's heart would always be different. Although Lin Siyuan was also his son, he was a mistake made during his amnesia. The name he gave Lin Siyuan said it all, Siyuan, meaning missing yen. He used this way to express his remorse towards Qi Yan. He loved Qi Yan deeply, and naturally loved his and Qi Yan's son. But towards Lin Siyuan, he only felt guilt, even though Lin Siyuan was innocent. Seeing Lin Rongxuan's red eyes, gleaming with exhaustion, Lin Shi didn't want to make things difficult for him anymore. All right, stop feeling guilty. Actually, I already knew about this a few days ago. Lin Rongxuan's eyes widened. How did you know? I know Ji. Seeing Lin Rongxuan looking bewildered, Lin Shi guessed he had forgotten the name of Lin Siyuan's adoptive mother. She's Siyuan's adoptive mother. Lin Rongxuan blurted out. It's a small world. But it makes sense. Lin Shi always has Siyuan by his side. Knowing his adoptive mother isn't strange at all. Let's go. Stop bothering me. I accept Siyuan as my brother, and I don't blame you for giving me another brother. Now you should figure out how to explain this to Siyuan. The issue with Lin Siyuan was the real big problem. Lin Shi had known about the existence of this father before meeting Lin Rongxuan. In his childhood, he wasn't treated harshly by his adoptive father. But Lin Siyuan was different. Even though the boy was good at hiding his emotions, Lin Shi still noticed that whenever they talked about parents, Lin Siyuan always harbored hatred towards his biological father and mother. It would definitely be very difficult for Lin Rongxuan to earn Lin Siyuan's forgiveness. Right. What kind of good karma did I, Lin Rongxuan, accumulate in my past life to have such a good son like you? I'll go find Siyuan right now. Lin Shi's understanding made Lin Rongxuan feel even more guilty. It's all my own doing. Why should my son have to bear it? What a shame. Lin Rongxuan silently wiped away a tear. Lin Shi nodded. Watching Lin Rongxuan's back fade away, he sighed softly. It seemed everyone around him had a hard life. Lin Rongxuan had been on the run for over 20 years. Lin Siyuan had a miserable childhood. Qi Yun had to make a living on his own at just 20 years old. If he had the chance to change their fates, he would definitely seize it to change the destiny of everyone. Lin Shi whispered his determination. Just then, his space-time walkie-talkie vibrated. It wasn't Lin Tianrui, but the current patriarch of the Li family, Li Chun. After Lin Tianrui gave Li Chun a communication device, Li Chun had been messaging Lin Shi frequently lately, but it was always about trivial matters. Occasionally, he would even tell Lin Shi interesting stories from his side. This type of walkie-talkie consumed a lot of materials. For ordinary people, owning one was unimaginable. For Li Chun to use modern communication equipment was even more of a luxury. Lin Shi took it out to look. Sure enough, it was Li Chun. Boss, I've arrived at the base. Are you free? If you are, please come to the base's meeting room. Chief Lin says there's something important. Oh, right. Chief Lin originally planned to notify you himself, but I beat him to it. Hee. Li Chun had arrived at the base. Lin Shi glanced at it, then jumped up and flew towards the meeting room. The meeting room was very familiar to Lin Shi. He had been here many times. When Lin Shi arrived, the meeting room was packed with people. It wasn't that everyone else had arrived faster than him, but Lin Tianrui knew their speed couldn't match Lin Shi's. Afraid of making him wait if he arrived first, he had everyone else gather before notifying Lin Shi. Sure enough, not long after everyone sat down, Lin Shi appeared at the door. Brother Lin, you're here? Come sit next to me. Lin Tianrui's eyes lit up when he saw Lin Shi, inviting him to sit in the main seat. He himself sat on the lower left, and Li Chun sat on the lower right. Seeing Lin Shi, Li Chun waved excitedly, not looking at all like the composed patriarch of a hidden family. If you didn't know better, you'd think he was some goofy college student who wandered into the wrong room. Lin Shi sat in the main seat. This seat was originally meant only for Lin Tianrui, but with him sitting there, no one in the meeting room showed any signs of abnormality. Everyone found it perfectly reasonable. Since everyone is here, Lin Tianrui didn't waste time and stood up to speak. I called you all here today because we've recently discovered abnormal activities among the origin beasts. The activities of the origin beasts concern the survival of humanity, which is why I gathered everyone to discuss a strategy. Lin Tianrui projected images captured by scouts and drones onto the screen. Dozens of photos all showed hordes of origin beasts running in the same direction in massive numbers. What is this? Is there another beast tide forming nearby? Someone asked doubtfully. The origin beasts around Xia country had been cleared out. Theoretically, a new beast tide shouldn't appear. If it was a beast tide in another country, there would be no need to gather everyone here to discuss it. This time is different from previous beast tides. You'll understand once you look at these next photos. The following images showed a massive number of origin beasts running across the sea. The more they looked, the more everyone realized the anomaly. Even though most of the sea had frozen over after the apocalypse, beasts still preferred staying on land. It was as if land creatures had an innate fear of the sea. Even with the sea frozen, very few origin beasts were active on it. Lin Tianrui didn't beat around the bush. Recently, we discovered a massive number of origin beasts running in the same direction. They are running from the mainland into the Atlantic Ocean. Their goal is very clear. I had investigation team 1 track them from a distance, and they found that these origin beasts don't attack each other when they meet on the way. Even if they are tired or starving, they don't eat each other. Only when one dies of exhaustion do the others divide and eat it before continuing to run in that direction. At first, we thought a high-level Beast King had appeared, and these origin beasts were following the Beast King's orders, causing this abnormal behavior. It wasn't until today that we received the news. The images on the screen finally stopped at a distant island. Finally, we discovered that all these origin beasts are running towards this island. This island is located in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. Because the weather became too cold after the apocalypse, most of the survivors on the island migrated to the equator. It has almost become a deserted island. After scouting the surroundings, we found that the ice layer several kilometers thick around the island had suddenly shattered and melted. But even though the ice melted, when those origin beasts reached the edge of the ice, they jumped into the sea and swam towards the island. Even those that couldn't swim or were naturally afraid of water risked their lives to jump into the sea. After hearing Lin Tianrui's explanation, most of the people in the meeting room turned pale. However, a few remained calm, evidently having known this news beforehand. Among them was Wang Chao, the person in charge of receiving the reports from that investigation team. Is there a high-level beast king on that island? Has a Tier 8 origin beast appeared? Someone asked. Hearing this, many people looked towards Lin Shi. Everyone knew he had killed a Tier 8 origin beast. Currently, Lin Shi's level was very hard for everyone to gauge. Sometimes he seemed Tier 6, sometimes Tier 7, sometimes Tier 8. This speed of advancement was something they couldn't even dream of. A beast king's influence couldn't reach that far, Li Chun said, looking seriously at the images. From the images Lin Tianrui provided, you can see these origin beasts have traveled over 1,000 kilometers. Even a Tier 8 beast king's influence couldn't reach that far. Lin Tianrui nodded in agreement with Li Chun. I had someone intercept an origin beast near the ice layer, but it still plunged into the sea like a maniac. Moreover, it's not just the origin beasts in this region going crazy and rushing to the island. Hordes of origin beasts from other countries around the island are also running there. It's as if the entire world of origin beasts is converging on this place. As soon as he finished speaking, the whole room was stunned and terrified. The entire world of origin beasts heading to this island? Could they have discovered a Tier 9 origin beast? Or was there something unusual about this island? There must be a reason for this anomaly. Because the situation was too unusual, Lin Tianrui had to investigate thoroughly before calling everyone to discuss. A few days ago, a scout in charge of tracking this incident braved the danger and went onto the island to check the situation. As a result, he lost contact as soon as he landed. Right now, the island is swarming with origin beasts. It's extremely dangerous. We can't just ignore it, right? This will be a massive disaster. I'll make a trip there myself, Lin Shi spoke up. Lin Tianrui saw that the situation was indeed abnormal, but it was also a good thing. So many origin beasts gathered on one island made it very convenient for Lin Shi to wipe them out. He didn't need to overthink it. Thank you so much, Brother Lin, for your dedication to humanity. But the situation this time might be more complicated. There are not only high-level origin beasts on the island, but also many low-level ones. Therefore, I don't want Brother Lin to take the risk alone. Who among you is willing to go along? Wang Chao and Qin Shuang stood up together. Chief, I'll go. I'm willing to go too. I'll go as well. Li Chun also raised his hand. After Qin Shuang and Wang Chao, several officers volunteered to go. Lin Tianrui appointed 2 more people. Then you guys lead 4 squads to accompany Brother Lin. This time, Brother Lin is the commander-in-chief, and Wang Chao is the deputy commander. When Brother Lin acts independently, you will follow Wang Chao's orders. Patriarch Li can act on his own. Everyone agreed in unison. Lin Shi didn't object. Then I'll fly everyone over. Fly over together? Everyone's eyes lit up. Everyone had heard that Lin Shi could fly, and could even carry people while flying. This time, over 100 people were going. Could they all fly together? Those who wanted to go but weren't selected immediately beat their chests and stomped their feet in regret. Among the high-ranking officials of the base, there were still many loyal fans of Lin Shi, a rare chance to meet their idol and even be flown by him. And they missed it. But the departure list couldn't be changed on a whim. So, everything was decided. The departure time was set for tomorrow morning. The next morning, 3 more people joined the departure team. Qi Yun, Lin Rongshuan, and Lin Siyuan were all present. It was unknown what Lin Rongshuan had told Lin Siyuan about his background yesterday, but today, Lin Siyuan's small face was quite serious, showing no other unusual expressions. Everyone's here. Lin Shi didn't delay any further. Everyone, Relax your bodies. Whoosh. Lin Shi carried several hundred people and flew up. Following the map provided by Lin Tianrui, Lin Shi led the group, flying close to the ground. In just over an hour, they approached an island in the Atlantic Ocean. Wang Chao and the others were initially amazed by Lin Shi's flying speed. Then, they were even more astounded by the number of monsters below. Not long after, Lin Shi slowed down. "I see the island," someone in the group shouted. From midair, everyone could clearly see the distant island and the countless monsters running madly below. Just as Lin Tianrui had said, monsters were rushing towards the island from all directions. Many monsters fell on the way, trampled by those behind them. Even with broken bones, they struggled to get up and continued limping towards the island. The fanatical look in these monsters' eyes didn't seem like they were summoned by a beast king, but rather as if there was something on the island with a fatal attraction to them. As for the island, it was pitch black, packed tightly with monsters. The number was uncountable, estimated to be at least 1 million. So many monsters. Have they gone mad? Everyone in the air was horrified. Wang Chao wondered. This sea area is far from human habitats. If these monsters wanted to attack humans, they wouldn't need to gather in this desolate place. It's truly abnormal, Li Chun said. This time, Li Chun brought about 100 subordinates, none below Tier 4. Li Chun himself was now at Tier 6. The old patriarch of the Li family had spent his whole life reaching that height, and Li Chun had done it. But Li Chun knew very well that Tier 6 strength was insignificant in front of truly powerful beings. Li Chun looked at Lin Shi, full of admiration. Lin Shi didn't say anything, just frowned and said, "Let's land first." At this moment, they were still a few kilometers away from the island. But hearing Lin Shi's words, despite their doubts, Wang Chao and the others still nodded. Actually, it wasn't that Lin Shi wanted everyone to get a clear look at the monster's actions that he slowed down. It was because he suddenly realized that the closer they got to the island, the greater the resistance when controlling everyone's flight. This made him subconsciously slow down. Sensing the abnormal situation, Lin Shi felt they should land first. Everyone quickly touched down. They landed in a spot where many monsters were passing by. Therefore, before they even touched the ground, Wang Chao ordered everyone to prepare for battle. But what surprised them even more was that these monsters didn't attack when they saw humans. Instead, they dodged around them and continued running towards the island. "What's going on? What's wrong with these beasts?" someone in the group asked in surprise. "Should we try attacking them?" "Let me try." Qi Yun's ability wasn't very precise, but with monsters all around, he'd hit something even with his eyes closed. Thinking this, Qi Yun felt his hands itch. He took 2 steps forward, raised his right hand, and pointed at the sky. Following his motion, a bolt of lightning struck down from the sky, hitting a Tier 5 wild bull a kilometer away. The wild bull instantly collapsed, its fur standing on end, bleeding from the electricity. But less than 2 seconds later, the wild bull struck by Qi Yun stood back up, its body trembling, and resolutely ran towards the island. Seeing this, Lin Rongxuan laughed out loud. "Haha, your lightning is so weak." Li Chun also smiled. The two were of the same generation and had met once at a family gathering. Qi Yun gritted his teeth, feeling mocked. He immediately summoned a few more lightning bolts. 2 bolts killed a Tier 5 and a Tier 4 origin beast, but the remaining 3 bolts were pitifully weak. 1 bolt couldn't even kill a Tier 4 origin beast. That's not right. My ability isn't this weak. There's definitely something weird going on here. Qi Yun frowned in distress. Lin Shi watched in silence. He knew it wasn't an issue with Qi Yun's ability. There was indeed something abnormal about this place. Wang Chao noticed the problem. "What's going on? The closer we get to the island, the weaker the lightning gets." Wang Chao looked towards Lin Shi. Lin Shi looked at the distant island, his eyes calm. "Let's go over and take a look. If these origin beasts don't attack, just leave them be." Everyone obeyed. Lin Shi led the group closer to the island, about a kilometer away. The ice layer here was fractured. To move forward, they either had to fly or find another way. Countless origin beasts scrambled to jump off the ice layer, plunging into the bone-chilling seawater. At this point, almost everyone noticed the anomaly. Qin Shuang suddenly said, "Do you guys feel anything? I feel like my spiritual power is being suppressed." "I feel it too. Let me try." It really is. Moreover, Why can't my spiritual power probe that island? I can't either. You guys try. Everyone started talking at once, extremely shocked. They had never experienced this feeling before. Linshur had noticed it the moment he arrived. At first, his spiritual power couldn't detect the island's existence. He thought he just hadn't found the right location. But when Linshur saw the island from the air, 100 meters away, his shock was even greater than the others right now. He found that no matter how much he focused his spiritual power, he couldn't lock onto the island where the origin beasts were constantly plunging into the sea. It was as if that island didn't belong to this world. Linshur cut off everyone's chatter. This island can shield against spiritual power. Wang Chao's eyes widened. Shield against spiritual power? Has Brother Lin ever encountered this situation before? Linshur didn't answer. He took an origin weapon out of his spatial storage and controlled it to fly towards the island a kilometer away. Under Linshur's careful control, it didn't fly fast. Everyone saw it clearly. As the origin weapon approached the island and was about to fly over it, it suddenly seemed to lose its guiding power and plummeted straight to the ground. This scene fell into everyone's eyes. Wang Chao was astonished, unable to believe it. How is this possible?